Chapter 892. The old man did not exude any powerful aura. If a cultivator saw him, they might even mistake him for an old man with one foot in the grave. He had a stooped figure, snow-white hair, a white beard, and a face full of wrinkles. His teeth had all fallen out, and his eyes were as turbid as a dead fish's. It seemed like a gust of wind could blow him away. He was old. Anyone who saw the old man could feel the old man's exhaustion. The air of the vast thousand domains is so comfortable. The old man breathed in the fresh air with intoxication and muttered to himself. How many years has it been? I finally got some information about little Jade. How can I let others destroy the old man? The old man looked up at the void and slowly walked forward. There was still no energy fluctuation, but when the old man's feet landed on the void, it was as if he was stepping on solid ground. He ascended to the sky with one step, split the void with 2 steps, and fled with 3 steps. Even the supreme restriction of the sacred temple could not stop him in the slightest. There were no ripples of being torn apart, and the old man disappeared without a trace. 10 minutes later, a stooped figure appeared on the streets of East Flow City. At this moment, his aura was that of an ordinary earth immortal. His turbid eyes swept over the people coming and going as he hobbled toward the alliance of East Flow City. The vast thousand domains is still the vast thousand domains after all. The old man looked around and saw familiar figures. He knew every cultivator that he saw. Not only did he know them, but he also knew many of their secrets. Everyone, even the weak human immortals, had no secrets in his eyes. However, what he saw in the vast thousand domains was still fundamentally different from the information in his boundless memories. Patriarch, please come out of seclusion. Our Shao clan has paid a heavy price, and only 12 people have successfully severed their Tao. It's not enough to deter Chen Wuliang. He's already issued an order to inform the sacred temple and the alliance's higher-ups to gather in East Flow City. It's obvious that he wants to reshuffle the cards. If our strongest force can't suppress him, our Shao clan's title as the #1 clan will be hard to preserve. Even if we do, our resources and fortune will be stripped away. Moreover, bastard, this old man said, don't bother me again. Patriarch, please listen to this disciple. What's there to say? The old man had said that Chen Wuliang wouldn't dare to do anything to the Shao family. You asked for it. Do you really think he's afraid of me? Although his strength after cutting path was not enough to be feared, he had the support of that old fart, Yilan, behind him. The current status and power of the Shao family is already the limit of what he can endure. And this is also the limit of what I can do. Yet, you still want to control the entire vast universe galaxy. This is really... Patriarch, the second world has stopped operating. All the cultivators have been cleared out. The Shao clan's patriarch knelt on the ground with a grave expression. He had no choice but to interrupt the patriarch's words. What? Ancestor, I wouldn't dare to go against your words. However, the second realm has closed. It's very likely that Yilan is going to make a move. How is that possible? Old Man Ye's nirvana has reached a critical juncture. If he cuts off the second world and his real body appears, won't he be delayed for 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even longer? I don't understand either. There's no reason. Alright, since that's the case, I'll go with you. You guys go first. When the time comes, the old man will naturally appear. Yes, Patriarch. I'll take my leave. The Shao clan's patriarch bowed and retreated. Only when he walked out of the clan's forbidden area did he turn into a stream of light with an excited expression. Could there be other mysteries behind this matter? It must be so. Otherwise, you would never have come out of seclusion. The Shao clan's patriarch slowly walked out from the depths of the forbidden area and thought to himself. He was very clear about the current situation. As the #1 family in the vast universe galaxy, the Shao clan's overall strength was definitely an existence that dominated the vast universe galaxy. It was not an exaggeration to say that they controlled half of the vast universe galaxy. However, it was impossible for the Shao clan to use Chen Hao's matter to seize the position of controller. The Shao clan's patriarch was very clear that although Chen Wuliang had not established any forces, as the controller of the vast universe galaxy, he was definitely not as simple as a single person. Moreover, Chen Wuliang's absolute strength was not something that the 12 cutting path experts of the Xiao clan could compare to. In the current world, how could a controller be promoted without the strongest individual strength? Most importantly, Chen Wuliang and Yilan were still cooperating. Otherwise, the second world would not have been popularized in the vast universe galaxy. The Xiao clan's patriarch could not figure out why Yilan would come out of seclusion at this time. After all, the current situation seemed chaotic, but in the end, it would not be chaotic at all. Chen Wuliang did not dare to do anything to the Xiao clan. At most, he would weaken their resources a little and kill the chicken to warn the monkey. This was something that he had already discussed with Chen Wuliang. Then why did Yilan not hesitate to come out of seclusion at the critical moment of nirvana? Damn it! Old man, I want to see what kind of tricks you Yi are playing. The Xiao clan's patriarch's figure directly disappeared without a trace. When he woke up, the first thing that entered his eyes was Chen Xiaoqing, who was completely naked like a little lamb, lying by his side. Chen Hao lightly stroked her smooth and jade-like skin and said, "Xiaoqing, wake up." "Ah, master. Stay here. I'm going out to take a look." "Master, let me enter your great world first. When you're fighting, let me out." "All right," Chen Hao said after a slight hesitation. Chen Xiaoqing's original identity was just a mortal core. She had no family or friends. Strictly speaking, she should not even have her own thoughts. She was an existence that had been brainwashed. Now that she had someone to rely on, it was like a life-saving straw. There was no doubt that she relied heavily on him. "Greetings, young master." When Chen Hao stepped out of the palace, an old man from the Fan clan named Dao Yuo Jingxian instantly came in front of Chen Hao and bowed. "Young master? Senior, just call me Chen Hao," Chen Hao said with a slight frown. This form of address was no doubt because of his father, but Chen Hao was not used to it. "I wouldn't dare. Young master, if you have any orders, just tell me." "Take me to see Dong Lu and Dong Sheng," Chen Hao said directly and did not bother about this form of address. "Okay, young master. Last night, many of your friends came. They should all be together. I'll take you now. Looks like there's no need for that." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, several figures came as fast as lightning. Fan Donglu and Fan Dongsheng were in front, followed by Chen Shui, Long Ting, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian Xiaoyu, the Lung sisters Pan Long, Du Jing Lan Feng Long Yi and the others. In an instant, they were in front of Chen Hao. Behind them, Hu Meinyang and Bailey Ningbing had also arrived. Chapter 893. Hiss. Big Brother. While everyone was excitedly approaching Chen Hao, Chen Ling and Li Yang suddenly appeared and took the lead to reach Chen Hao's side as they shouted excitedly, "You're all here." Chen Hao smiled faintly and nodded slightly at the crowd. His gaze slowly swept across everyone present. "Big brother, are you ready?" Du Jing asked. "There's nothing to prepare." Chen Hao smiled faintly. "Senior brother, tell us the truth. How confident are you? Sister-in-law Joy has already told us that you haven't even unsealed your transcendent mortal state. That's not important. The condition I set for unsealing my transcendent mortal state is to be unsealed when my life is threatened," Chen Hao said. Chen Hao. Upon hearing Chen Hao's words, Hu Meinyang, who was standing at the back and did not step forward, suddenly said, "What you're doing isn't right. Xiao Yan has already reached the peak state where he can trigger heaven's punishment at any time. His strength is even more terrifying than the rumors say. I know you're very confident, but you can't underestimate him when you're fighting him. His innate skill is very powerful. I think it's better for you to unseal his transcendent mortal state in advance. In a battle between experts, one wrong step will lead to many wrong steps. By the time you encounter danger and unseal your transcendent mortal state, you've already missed the opportunity." "That's right, big brother. I think Miss Hu is right," Lan Feng said. Everyone nodded in agreement. At this point, everyone had a good understanding of Xiao Yan. However, the more they knew, the more they realized how terrifying Xiao Yan was. The Xiao family was the #1 family in the vast universe galaxy for hundreds of millions of years. It was said that Xiao Yan had awakened the bloodline of the Xiao family's ancestor. How terrifying was he? Xiao Yan's experiences and legends were probably unable to reflect his true strength. Even though everyone knew how monstrous Chen Hao was, Chen Hao had only stepped into the peak of the advanced heavenly celestial stage for a short period of time. Moreover, he had just stepped out of the primitive secret realm, and had yet to consolidate his foundation before he had to fight Xiao Yan to the death. No matter how they looked at it, he was at a disadvantage. Miss Hu is right, but it's a pity that there's nothing I can do about it. When I was transforming into a mortal, the soul contract that I set up was extremely strict. There's no way that my own people would be able to undo it for me. Only in a life or death situation. Or when my current realm has surpassed my original realm. Chen Hao shook his head slightly. He looked at everyone and said, "All right, let's go in and talk. Is something really going to happen?" When Chen Hao told his younger siblings that he felt that he was going to face a great calamity, he wasn't being an alarmist. As the cultivators' cultivation increased, their understanding of the laws of the heavenly Tao would grow deeper and deeper, and their instincts would grow sharper and sharper. Under normal circumstances, they would have a profound sense towards impending danger. Especially for some cultivators who were nearing the end of their lifespans and had seen through life and death, they would even be able to see the scenes of thousands or tens of thousands of years in the future. They would be able to comprehend the future and see through the mysteries of the heavens. Chen Hao indeed seemed to have a premonition about the coming final battle. It was as if he had seen a point in the trajectory of fate, but he could not see it clearly or grasp it. This feeling made Chen Hao faintly uneasy. And just last night, after Chen Hao fell asleep like a mortal, he actually had a dream. This was simply a joke. One had to know that he was already considered an invincible celestial immortal. Even when he was sleeping, his powerful soul and will would remain in a state of emptiness. There should not have been a dream. Dreams, what one thought during the day, one would dream at night. Under normal circumstances, it was the hidden consciousness that caused mischief. And a cultivator's control over the subconscious was hundreds or thousands of times stronger than a mortal's. No matter what, there shouldn't have been a dream. But Chen Hao had a dream, and the dream seemed to be in a trance, as if it was announcing something. This made Chen Hao feel strange, and at the same time his uneasiness increased again. Fate. Chen Hao did not believe in fate. He only believed in himself. He believed that one day, through his own efforts, he would be able to jump out of the long river of fate. His fate would be in his own hands, not in the hands of the heavens. But Chen Hao also knew that whether it was fate, luck, or opportunity, these things were too profound for him now. For the time being, it was not something he could resist. Not to mention him, even his father, Chen Wuliang, could not do it. This was an invisible hand that controlled the 9 heavens and 10 earths, the universe, the starry sky, and all living things. How could it be easy to transcend fate? Among the 3,000 great Daos, the great fate technique was the most profound existence. Chen Hao was still unable to cultivate, let alone control it. What's going to happen? No matter how strong Xiao Yan is, he's still a celestial immortal. Even if he can trigger the heavenly punishment and step into the Daoyuo Jinxian during the battle, so what? I can do it too. Even if I'm not a match for him, it's impossible for him to kill me. But why? Chen Hao shook his head. He could not figure it out, so he could only temporarily put it to the back of his mind. How, what's wrong? Qin Shui asked. Everyone could sense Chen Hao's abnormality. It's nothing, Chen Hao said. As he spoke, everyone followed him into the palace. Chen Hao closed the door and said, "Everyone take a seat. I'm very happy that all of you are here. Thank you." To everyone's surprise, Chen Hao looked at Hu Meinyang, Bailey Ningbing, Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, and the others. "Boss, what are you talking about? We'll share hardships and blessings together. You're our boss. You're treating us like outsiders," Du Jing said. "That's right. Boss, why are you acting so strange all of a sudden?" Lan Feng asked in confusion. Whoosh! Chen Hao smiled lightly as rays of light suddenly surged out from between his brows. After that, countless ancient magic treasures, jade slips of inheritance, and spiritual items of the heavens and the earth fluttered and floated before everyone, causing the entire palace to be drowned in the aura of treasures. "You can divide these among yourselves. Even if they're useless, you can give them to your sect, family, and friends. Boss, what are you doing? Senior brother, what do you mean? Chen Hao. Hu Mengnyang frowned. Bailey Ningbing, on the other hand, had a strange look in her eyes. This was because many of the items that Chen Hao took out floated in front of her. The only ones who didn't were the girls who were related to Chen Hao, as well as Chun Ling and Li Yang. Don't worry, I'm not making arrangements for my death. Although Xiao Yin is strong, I'm still confident that I can fight him. It's just that I have a premonition that something unexpected might happen. Moreover, it should be a great calamity for me. Chen Hao said helplessly. At this moment he could only say it out loud so that everyone would accept his things. Moreover, by saying it out loud he could give everyone a heads up so that they wouldn't have to worry about him in the future. Chen Hao believed that since he could sense a calamity, it wouldn't be death. However, what exactly was going to happen was not something that Chen Hao could sense. Calamity. I can see it, I can sense it, but I can't see it clearly, I can't catch it. Keep these things, perhaps I'll have to disappear for a long time. When I return, don't forget me. How? Chen Shui, Helian Wuxia, Tantai Lian and the rest all cried out. Especially all of you, you have to wait for me to come back. I don't want to be all alone when I return. Chen Hao waved his hand to stop the girls from speaking, and continued to say with a smile. How? What exactly did you sense? Under normal circumstances, only cultivators who are nearing the end of their lives and have seen through life and death can see the future. Helian Wuxia suddenly said. After experiencing the endless cycle of reincarnation, her understanding of reincarnation and fate was much stronger than everyone present. Chen Hao's seemingly casual words made her unable to calm down. Nearing the end of my life. Xiao Wu, I can confirm that I'm not in that situation. Then what did you see? Helian Wuxia asked again. I just saw all of you crying, as if you thought I was already dead. But I couldn't tell you, let alone contact you. It seemed like I was very, very far away, so far that it would take me a long time to return. Did you just see it? No, I was dreaming last night when I was sleeping. Dreaming? Everyone's expression suddenly became extremely strange. Boss, are you serious? You can still dream now. That's too exaggerated. Lan Feng said. This is indeed a little strange. I think it's probably because there's still a lot of potential in me that hasn't been unlocked. That's why there's a dream? Well, it seems that this is the only reasonable explanation. I can only say that I'm too strong. But since I had a dream, I'd rather believe it. If I really have to leave for a period of time, don't worry too much. Take these things, I have a lot of them anyway. Chen Hao said with a relaxed expression. You scared me, senior brother. If you want to give us something, just give it to us directly. How can we not accept it? How can we not accept it? I'll take it. Chi. Coiling Dragon directly took the treasures in front of him into his mind space. Brother Pan is right. Boss, is there anything else you need? How about you take them all out? We don't mind. You bunch of fellows, get out of here. Wang. Suddenly, a heart-palpitating pressure appeared. It wasn't just Chen Hao and the others, but all of East Flow City and all of the cultivators were instantly stunned, their minds falling into a daze. Greetings, controller. At the same time, a voice that resounded through the heavens and earth spread into everyone's ears. At this moment, all of the heavenly Tao laws of East Flow City stopped revolving. Heaven and earth energy froze and time came to a standstill. Retract your pressure. A voice that was filled with endless majesty sounded. Immediately, it was like a mighty spring breeze that swept over the entire land. It was also at this moment that all the cultivators, who had lost their minds and were on the verge of collapsing, immediately felt as though a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. They immediately sat limply on the ground. Even Chen Hao paled, his body shivering. Luckily, Chen Hao and the others were sitting down. Otherwise they would have also slumped to the ground, unable to resist the pressure of a true immortal. Chen Hao and the others glanced at each other in amazement. So strong, Hu Mengnyang muttered. The high-level meeting has begun. Unfortunately, we don't have the qualifications to watch. So strong. At the same time, in the conference room of the core palace of East Flow City's alliance, there were countless old men with looks that were even more ordinary than mortals, old women with white hair, and even beautiful middle-aged women. All of them were looking at the middle-aged Chen Wuliang in amazement. Chapter 894. It was just a greeting, but the top figures of the vast universe galaxy had a new understanding of Chen Wuliang's terrifying strength. Just now, nearly 20 old true immortals had released their pressure on Chen Wuliang at the same time, but Chen Wuliang had easily resolved it. It was like the spring wind and rain, warming the entire East Flow City. It was the power of one person. Even true immortal Han Mei and true immortal Snow Plum didn't help him. Haha, Chen Wuliang. As expected of Chen Wuliang. The power after cutting Dao is really immeasurable. Admirable. At this moment, the Xiao family patriarch's expression changed again and again, but his eyes were hazy. He seemed to be flattering, but his words were full of disrespect. No, compared to the Xiao family patriarch and Brother Xiao, I'm still a little lacking. Brother Xiao? Chen Wuliang, you think too highly of yourself. Is that so? Even if your old ancestor came over, he would still call me Brother Chen. Is my name something a junior like you can call me by? You're courting death. Chi. To everyone's surprise, Chen Wuliang was so domineering. Not only did he speak in a domineering manner, but he also caught the master of the Xiao clan by grabbing the air. It was as if he was catching a chicken in his pants. Chen Wuliang Yichi. Just as a genuine immortal of the Xiao clan shouted in anger, Chen Wuliang opened his palm again. This time, it was even more terrifying than when he had captured the Xiao clan leader. His palm seemed to have turned into a huge black hole, containing a mystery that even the top experts present could not see through. He had actually absorbed the Xiao clan's hidden power, which had been hidden for millions or even tens of millions of years, into his palm. True immortal Humph. I killed peak Earth immortals, peak Sky immortals, peak Sky immortals, peak Sky immortals, peak Sky immortals, Zenith immortals, peak Hongmeng. Now, you old farts with one foot in the grave who luckily succeeded in cutting Dao dare to challenge me? You want to use my son to seize the position of ruler? Did you eat shit? I've only reincarnated 100 times. It seems you've forgotten who I am. Motherfucker. What, you still want to fight? Bang bang. Chen Wuliang waved his hand and threw the two of them to the ground. He stepped on their heads with 1 foot each. Thousands of Dao principles imprisoned them, and they could not even move. But this was not important. What was important was that he was doing this in front of all the heroes of the world. Chen. Controller Chen. What do you want? Among the remaining 11 true immortals of the Xiao clan, one of them said with a gloomy expression. Even though they already knew that Chen Wuliang was very strong after the cutting path stage, they did not expect him to be this strong. What was even more unexpected was that Chen Wuliang would be so domineering. This was a direct slap to the Xiao family's face, and he did not give them any face at all. Chen Wuliang, kill me if you dare. Let me tell you, our old ancestor has already left the mountain. I'd like to see just how capable you are. Kill me, huh? Kill me if you have the guts. Chen Wuliang's domineering and decisive means made the patriarch of the Xiao clan so angry that blood rushed to his head. He had completely turned into a jumping clown. You're the one who started all this trouble, aren't you? The Xiao family is the #1 family that has stood tall in the vast universe galaxy for trillions of years. To have a patriarch like you is truly a disgrace. If it weren't for Brother Xiao, I would kill you right now. I can spare you the death penalty, but you can't escape punishment for disturbing the order of the vast universe galaxy. I'll send you to the ancient chaos void to train for 10,000 years. You'll be responsible for your own life and death. How dare you? The patriarch of the Xiao clan roared in horror. The thousands of senior members of the Divine Temple and the Alliance shuddered and kept quiet out of fear. The ancient chaos desolate region was the #1 danger zone in the vast universe galaxy. Not to mention the Grand Miss Sovereign Xiao family's patriarch. Even a true immortal wouldn't dare to rashly enter, let alone enter for 10,000 years. What was the difference between that and death? There are only things in this world that I can't do, such as giving birth to a child. There is nothing that I don't dare to do. Open. Buzz. Chen Wuliang said arrogantly. With a light shout, The space-time gate began to condense in front of him. Chen Wuliang, I'm the patriarch of the Xiao clan. You're going to destroy the Xiao clan. Old ancestor, save me. Seeing the space-time gate about to form, the Xiao clan patriarch was so scared that he nearly pissed himself. He desperately struggled to break free from Chen Wuliang's shackles and screamed out loud. At this point, he had already lost all face. The only thing he could think of was to save his own life. How could he consider anything else? At this moment, all the cultivators of East Flow City were horrified. Although they couldn't enter the alliance to watch, the Xiao clan patriarch's cries for help left all the cultivators dumbfounded. Was this really the Xiao clan patriarch? The Xiao clan was the #1 family in the vast universe galaxy. What sort of character was the Xiao clan patriarch? In the vast universe galaxy, besides Chen Wuliang, everyone had to bow and greet him. But now he was actually asking for help. If it weren't for the Xiao clan patriarch calling out his name, and letting everyone know that the controller Chen Wuliang was messing with him, no one would believe this was real. Boss, your father is so fierce. Is this real? This is too fucking cool. I really want to go take a look. Like father, like son, like son, like father. How could boss's father not be fierce? A true immortal. Although the Xiao clan patriarch had over 100 old fogies of the Xiao clan risked their lives to cut through the Tao, only 12 of them succeeded. He himself is still at the Hongming boundary, but I didn't think he would be such a soft egg. What a fucking disgrace. Boss, perhaps your arranged battle with Xiao Yan won't be held. That's right. It would be great if that were the case. After all, that fellow has cultivated for so many years, and is also at the perfection boundary. This is unfair. It would be best if they didn't fight. It's not as simple as you think. This battle cannot be avoided. Chen Hao shook his head. Although he was shocked by his father's strength and was curious as to what had happened that the dignified Xiao clan patriarch would make such a disgraceful sound. From yesterday's conversation with Han Mei's master and mother, Chen Hao already knew that his battle with Xiao Yan was unavoidable. How is this possible? Unlike Chen Hao's excitement, Xiao Yan was waiting for news in a grand hotel in East Flow City. As soon as he heard this sound, his complexion changed. Boss, this voice. One of his lackeys had just opened his mouth when he shut his mouth. He wanted to ask if it was true, but seeing Xiao Yan's expression, he didn't need to ask. If he asked again, wouldn't that be asking for trouble? The other lackeys also frowned slightly. Evil creature, a father is respected by his son. I allowed you to ascend to the position of Xiao clan patriarch. I didn't ask for merit, but for no mistakes. That's enough. But you evil creature, the Xiao clan's face has been completely lost by you. Suddenly, an aged voice cut through the sky. At this moment, everyone in East Flow City had already ascended to a high place, and were looking up at the sky. Endless celestial light flickered and terrifying Tao laws filled the air. The energy of heaven and earth surged, and an old man seemed to be stepping on the pulse of heaven and earth as he slowly descended from the 9 heavens. His pressure swept through the world and fixed everyone's gaze. Xiao clan patriarch. The Xiao clan patriarch who hasn't died in 1 trillion years. Heavens! Patriarch! As countless people were shocked, Xiao Yan and the other Xiao clan members, no matter where they were, as long as they saw the figure of the Xiao clan patriarch, they would bow to the ground, their expressions inexplicably excited. This was the Xiao clan's true background, their strongest background, the foundation that allowed the Xiao clan to stand tall for 1 trillion years. The Xiao clan patriarch. Old brother Xiao, you really came? You wouldn't have any objections to my methods, right? At this time, Chen Wuliang's voice sounded out. At the same time, Chen Wuliang stepped out of the Alliance Palace, one hand holding the space-time gate, and the other holding the Xiao clan patriarch. That old bastard came, so how could I not come? Old brother Chen, how about you let me punish him for his mistakes? Huh? Old brother Xiao, our agreement still counts, right? Of course it counts. If that's the case, then I think it's better for me, the controller, to deal with him. With old brother Xiao here, I don't have the qualifications to meddle in your Xiao clan's affairs. But, since he deceived the high-level figures of Vast Universe Galaxy and provoked the Order of Vast Universe Galaxy, it's better for me to deal with him. Old brother Xiao, what do you say? Chen Wuliang had a harmless smile on his face, as if he were asking for the Xiao clan patriarch's opinion. But as he looked straight into the eyes of the Xiao clan patriarch, it was clear that this wasn't the case. The Xiao clan patriarch frowned. As he stared at Chen Wuliang, the pressure on his body began to rise at a terrifying speed. But Chen Wuliang didn't avoid it at all. Although his appearance was calm, his pressure also began to rise. At this moment, the void became so heavy that it was suffocating. The tumbling Tao laws and the surging heaven and earth energy were even more horrifying. All of the cultivators of East Flow City were shocked by this hostile atmosphere. They all held their breaths, not daring to breathe. Or perhaps it was better to say that they couldn't breathe. Everyone was sure that if either of these two were to attack, all of East Flow City would be instantly turned to ash. Good. Old brother Chen, the cutting Tao is indeed different. Since you want to deal with me, it's up to you. I'm looking forward to the life and death battle between the two juniors. See you in 2 days. Gee. After staring at each other for a full minute, the Xiao clan patriarch suddenly retracted his pressure. The words life and death were especially heavy. As soon as he finished speaking, a long rainbow cut through the void, traversing hundreds of thousands of miles. In an instant, a young figure was pulled to his side. It was Xiao Yan. Greetings, patriarch. Xiao Yan respectfully knelt in the void. The Xiao clan patriarch directly grabbed his hand and looked down. Yilan, if you dare to interfere in this matter, don't blame me for fighting to the death. Xiao clan disciples, listen up. From today onwards, Xiao Yan will be the acting patriarch. When he steps into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, he will be the official patriarch. Yes. The 11 Xiao clan true immortals and upper echelons in the alliance responded in unison. Even the true immortal who had been imprisoned by Chen Wuliang like a dead dog was no exception. As for the Xiao clan patriarch, his face was deathly pale. He had never thought that the patriarch would give up on him. Chen Wuliang also did not expect this outcome. When he had negotiated with the Xiao clan patriarch, although he had said it casually, with Chen Wuliang's understanding of Chen Hao, he knew that Chen Hao was no match for Xiao Yan at the moment. However, although the Xiao clan patriarch seemed to be easy to talk to, he did not relent on the life and death battle between Xiao Yan and Chen Hao. Chen Wuliang had no use for Yilan. Now, Chen Wuliang had suppressed the Xiao clan and secretly asked Yilan to close the second world and pretend to leave the mountain, hoping that the Xiao clan patriarch would give in and cancel the life and death battle between Chen Hao and Xiao Yan. However, he did not expect that the old man would give up on the Xiao clan patriarch. This caught Chen Wuliang off guard. It was as if he had shot himself in the foot. Instead, the life and death battle between Chen Hao and Xiao Yan was unavoidable, and it would definitely be more intense. However, what Chen Wuliang did not know was that Yilan had indeed closed the second world as he had asked, but he did not pretend to leave the mountain as he had said. Instead, he really did not hesitate to sacrifice thousands, or even tens of thousands of years of cultivation to reappear in the world. This was because Chen Hao's position in Yilan's heart was far more important than Chen Wuliang thought. Chapter 895. Chen Wuliang snorted. The smile on his face disappeared, and was replaced by a cold arrogance. 10,000 years. Whether you can survive or not depends on your luck. Get in. Qi. Chen Wuliang threw the despairing Xiao family head into the space-time gate, as if he was throwing trash. You will be sealed for 10,000 years as a small punishment. Qi. The Xiao family true immortal who offended Chen Wuliang was sucked into his glabella. From today onwards, all direct descendants of the Xiao family will be removed from the Alliance and the Divine Temple. They will not be allowed to join for 10,000 years. They will not be allowed to hold any important positions for 100,000 years. The young disciples of the Xiao family will not be allowed to use any cultivation facilities in the Divine Temple or the Alliance for 1,000,000 years. Anyone who disagrees can come and fight for the position of controller with me. They are responsible for their own lives. Hiss. Chen Wuliang's cold words made the upper echelons gasp. The Xiao family members were filled with righteous indignation. After a short silence, one of the remaining 11 true immortals of the Xiao family said angrily, Chen Wuliang, don't cross the line. Oh, Looks like you are dissatisfied and want to fight for the position of controller with me? Fine, I'll grant you your wish. What, you don't dare? Why don't the 11 of you join forces? I'll be alone. As long as you win, the position of controller will belong to the Xiao family. If you lose, you can accompany your idiot family head. Chen Wuliang narrowed his eyes and said provocatively. The Xiao family patriarch was determined to have Xiao Yan and Chen Hao fight to the death. This completely enraged Chen Wuliang. If not for the fact that he was afraid that the Xiao family patriarch would destroy the entire vast universe galaxy regardless of the cost, he would have attacked even if he was no match for the Xiao family patriarch. Now he could only vent his anger on the Xiao family members. Since they had shed all pretense of cordiality, there was nothing more to say. The Xiao family had stood strong for hundreds of millions of years, and occupied half of the resources in the vast universe galaxy. Many direct descendants of the Xiao family held high positions in the Divine Temple and the Alliance. Since you want to destroy my son, I will destroy your foundation. Although Chen Wuliang had said that 10,000 years or 100,000 years was nothing to the mighty figures of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, and could not shake the Xiao clan's unfathomable foundation, Chen Wuliang believed that in another 10,000 years, he would no longer be afraid of the Xiao clan's patriarch. When that time came, who would dare to stop him when he gave the order? He who had successfully severed his Tao was definitely not as simple as that. This was because his son, Chen Hao, had given him a new understanding of the mysterious primary outline of the great Tao. Arrogant. Chen Wuliang, will you keep your word? I am the dignified master of the vast universe galaxy. Why would I lie to you? Good. The heroes of the world can bear witness. Let's see how strong you are to dare to challenge all 11 of us. Idiot. Get the hell out of here. At this moment, the furious voice of the Xiao clan's patriarch drifted over from afar. Almost at the same time, a huge hand that blotted out the sky suddenly sucked the 11 perfected immortals into its palm. At the same time, the void was torn apart, and a space-time gate suddenly appeared. You coward! Chen Wuliang looked at the 11 figures that were thrown into the space-time gate by the Xiao clan's patriarch and said disdainfully. On the surface he said 11 people, but in reality, everyone present could tell who he was talking about. Of course, he was talking about the person who stopped him. It's just a dispute of personal feelings. 10,000 years, 100,000 years, what's the big deal? It won't take that long at all. Brother Xiao, my condolences. Don't cry in 2 days. Get the hell out of here, you old bastard. I respect you for being a great person in the past, and respectfully call you brother. What kind of bullshit is it to make things difficult for a junior? There can't be 2 tigers on one mountain. Old Man Yi is a precedent. The weeds that should be dealt with as soon as possible. There is only one path to the future master. That is my Xiao clan's disciple, Xiao Yan. Ha. You colluded with Yi and pretended to leave the mountain. Wasn't it to force Old Man to give up? Unfortunately, you don't understand Yi Chen at all. How could he possibly delay his cultivation for 1,000 years or 10,000 years because of a junior? Especially at this critical moment. A peak late heavenly immortal, who has been at the peak of the late heavenly immortal realm for 1,000 years is bullying someone who has just reached the peak of the late heavenly immortal realm. Moreover, this is because of the primal mystic realm space and time laws. I think you've lived for so long, but you've lived like a dog. You can't say that. This is your son's 10-year duel with Happy Valley. Yenner is only an invitee. You aren't much younger than me. Is there something wrong with your head? Or was it kicked by a donkey? Can't you understand this principle? Ha. Don't be so smug. It's not certain who will die yet. My son is an indomitable spirit who excels at creating miracles. This time will be no exception. I want to see just who will have the last laugh. Let's wait and see. One was a master and the other was an old bastard. Both were peak existences in vast universe galaxy. But as the two of them spoke, all of the cultivators in East Flow City were left staring at each other. In particular, some young cultivators were left dumbfounded. They couldn't help but sigh. Even a master who had achieved the Tao was still a human. Scram. Chen Wuliang swept his eyes over the massive palace hall and coldly shouted out. The high-level figures of the alliance and the Xiao family left the palace hall one by one. Under the watchful eyes of everyone present, they were all covered in dirt. The vacated seats and their resources will all be rearranged 1 month from now. Is there a problem? No problem. Master, you have the final say. That's good. If there are no problems, then the meeting is adjourned. Winter plum, snow plum, let's go. T. The three of them instantly vanished from the palace hall. The high-level meeting that had shaken vast universe galaxy had come quickly, and left even faster. No one thought that it would have such an ending. Because of Chen Wuliang's strength, and also because of his terrifying strength, even the Xiao family's old ancestor wasn't able to stir up any waves. Of course, all of the peak masters present were well aware that this was also the reason that Chen Wuliang had the support of the 4th-generation master of vast universe galaxy, Yilan. The Xiao family's patriarch was almost destined to die in the ancient chaos void domain. A true immortal of the Xiao family was sealed in Chen Wuliang's great world. All of the Xiao family's direct descendants in the alliance and the divine temple were dismissed and expelled. The Xiao family's direct descendants lost the right to use all of the cultivation facilities in vast universe galaxy. If such a blow had happened to any other family, it was almost destined to decline, or even be destroyed. However, the Xiao family's foundation was unfathomable. No one dared to take advantage of the situation. Not to mention 100,000 years. Even if it was 1,000,000 years, they could still be self-sufficient and develop. As the Xiao family's old ancestor had said, 10,000 years or 100,000 years were nothing. At the same time, the Xiao family's old ancestors' words made everyone have a further understanding of the importance of Xiao Yan and Chen Hao. What was the concept of a future master? That was the #1 expert of the current generation. It was obvious that the Xiao family's old ancestor valued Xiao Yan's potential. Similarly, the Xiao family's old ancestor would rather die than let Xiao Yan and Chen Hao fight to the death. This was enough to show how big of a threat Chen Hao was to Xiao Yan. Tianxi. Just when Chen Hao and the others were still shocked by what had just happened, a voice that was filled with dignity and excitement that was not concealed in the slightest suddenly appeared in Chen Hao's ears. In a flash, Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, and Shui Mei appeared in front of everyone. Chen Hao looked at the imposing figure in front of him and didn't speak. It wasn't that he didn't want to speak, but that he didn't know how to. In his heart, the most direct impression his father gave him was that of a crippled mortal. Although he had long known that his father wasn't simple, when he truly knew that his father was the master of the vast universe galaxy, it still felt unreal. But now he was standing in front of him. His appearance and figure were just a shadow of the past. Father knows that you must feel uncomfortable. You, little Shui, little Yan, little Nan, and are indeed the children of Father's last 100 reincarnations. You are also the key to breaking the taboo and transcending reincarnation. Of course, you are not Father's biological child. But you must believe that Father's last reincarnation was not a simple reincarnation. Father will always be your father. Even if the sky falls, Father will hold it up with you. In this vast universe galaxy, no one can do anything to you. Don't worry. If anything happens to you in the final battle in 2 days, Father will stop it at all costs. If Father doesn't have the ability to stop it, then I will bury the entire Xiao family with you. Even the Xiao family's ancestor won't be able to stop it. Chen Hao looked at his father's eyes that contained deep emotions, and his heart warmed. He calmed down and said, Father, you are the master of the vast universe galaxy. The big picture is more important. Moreover, I never thought that I would lose to Xiao Yan. Well said. What surprised Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, and Shui Mei, the 3 true immortals, and everyone else was that an old and weak voice suddenly appeared in everyone's ears. There was no sign, and even the 3 true immortals did not sense the slightest aura. However, a stooped old man with turbid eyes, who looked as if he would die at any time, quietly stood not far away from them, as if he had been standing there for hundreds of millions of years. Han Mei and Shui Mei were shocked beyond words, and the aura around them soared crazily. They couldn't help it. The old man who could appear beside them without making a sound was definitely at the true immortal realm. and his strength was several times stronger than theirs. Don't panic. After a short moment of surprise, Chen Wuliang said to Han Mei and Xue Mei. Then he smiled and looked at the old man. Brother Yi, you really came out? Boy, you've been reincarnated 100 times, but you still do things carelessly. Brother, it's easy to change mountains and rivers, but it's hard to change one's character. What can I do? Well, now is not the time to catch up with you. Leave your son to me for 2 days. Haha. That's great. Brother, my son's talent is unprecedented. Oh right, it's very similar to Sister Yi Xian's body. Sister Yi Xian? You boy. If little Xian didn't have an accident, she would be your senior. Forget it, we cultivators talk with strength. Let me tell you clearly, your son's body is not similar to my daughter's, it's completely the same. Chapter 896. Yi Lan's cloudy eyes stared at Chen Hao, who was in a daze. He ignored Chen Wuliang's surprise and suddenly looked at Long Ting, who was curiously sizing him up. He said, You must be Xiao Ting from the Long family on the Asianing planet? You look exactly like Xian. You and Hao are come with me. Xiao Ting, how? Or since when were we so familiar with each other? Both Chen Hao and Long Ting were puzzled. Although Chen Hao had not formally introduced this unbelievably old man, from the fact that the 3 perfected immortals could not sense his cultivation level, and the way Chen Wuliang addressed him, Chen Hao and Long Ting guessed that this old man must be Yi Lan, who was in cahoots with Chen Wuliang. He was the 4th-generation controller of the vast universe galaxy, and also the strongest controller. He was also the true master of the second world. After Yi Lan finished speaking, his stooped figure took the lead, and walked toward the cultivation room in the palace where Chen Hao was. Long Ting looked at Chen Hao in confusion. Chen Hao shook his head and looked at Chen Wuliang in confusion. Go ahead. Brother Yi is the 4th-generation controller of the vast universe galaxy, and the only one who can keep the Xiao family's ancestor in check. But I really don't understand what's going on with Xiao Ting. However, Xiao Ting's image is too similar to Yi Xian's. Perhaps it has something to do with Yi Xian? You can ask Brother Yi. Chen Wuliang waved his hand. Chen Hao and Long Ting could only follow him in. When Chen Hao first entered the second world, he thought of a possibility. The second world was very similar to the simulated game space on Earth. At that time, he had learned from Heavenly Lord Yuanru that the second world was formed by Yi Lan's supreme ability before his death. Everyone thought that Yi Lan had become the second world, and could not be alive. However, Chen Hao did not think so. The order of the entire world definitely required a super powerful intelligence brain to operate. At that time, he felt that the cultivators who entered the second world would not be able to keep secrets from this intelligence brain. However, he did not care and could not care less. Now his thoughts were confirmed. Yi Lan definitely knew all of his secrets. Or it could be said that he had searched through all of his memories. It was the same for Long Ting. At the same time, Chen Hao was also able to confirm that the 10,000-year-old ancient corpse that had created his existence was the greatest genius of the vast universe galaxy since ancient times, but also the most regretful girl, Yi Xian, Yi Lan's daughter. Long Ting and Yi Lan looked exactly the same. What was the relationship between them? Chen Hao's genetic probing had traced the evolution of the origin, but he had not found any clues. At that time, Chen Hao had only thought that it was some kind of coincidence that he had met someone who looked exactly the same. But now, Yi Lan asked Long Ting to go with him, which made Chen Hao understand that it wasn't as simple as he thought. With all kinds of doubts, Chen Hao and Long Ting stepped into the cultivation room. Xiao Shui, my good daughter. When Chen Hao entered the cultivation room, Chen Wuliang walked up to Chen Shui with a smile on his face. As he spoke, he reached out to touch Chen Shui's head. But Chen Shui took 2 steps back and dodged. Chen Shui frowned and glared at Chen Wuliang. Ha! Chen Wuliang smiled and touched his own head. He said naturally without the slightest awkwardness, I know you still have a prejudice against me. I'll take good care of you in the future. Then he suddenly looked at Bailey Ningbing. Little Bing too. Ah? Bailey Ningbing was shocked. What did he mean? When Chen Wuliang looked at Hu Mengyang again, Venerable Immortal Han Mei suddenly said, That's enough. As a controller, Aren't you ashamed? So many of Hao Er's companions and friends are here. You only recognize your daughter? Cough cough. My wife is right. Junior Du Jing greets uncle and auntie. Du Jing was the first to salute excitedly. Junior Pan Long greets. Junior Lan Feng. Daughter Chen Ling. That's enough. Chen Wuliang suddenly released a gentle energy and stopped everyone from saluting. He said, I'm very familiar with all of you here, haha. Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng Ling Li Yang, and Xiao Wu, Xiao Lian Yu Huan Huan Lei. My good daughters-in-law, haha. Little Bing Mei Yang, haha. Father. Father. At this moment, dozens of figures quickly ran over. The two in front were Chun Nan and Chen Yan. Chun Nan and Chen Yan didn't have much of a barrier between them and their father. When they stepped into the Xiao family of the secular world, their father began to guide them in cultivation. He even taught them a set of unparalleled combination techniques and told them to follow their big brother Chun Hao in the future. Although they didn't expect their father to be the controller of the vast universe galaxy, it was much easier for them to accept it than Chun Hao and Chen Shui. Greetings, controller. Along with Chun Nan, Chen Yan, Xiao Mei Huyan Aobo, Gu Chen Guan Nanchao, Lu Qingyang, and the Fan family's upper echelons were also present. These people were all excited and bowed with cupped fists. No need for formalities. We're all on the same side, no need for formalities. Chen Wuliang waved his hand and said, Grandfather. Bailey Ningbing saw her grandfather, Guan Nanchao, appear and immediately ran over. Guan Nanchao was full of joy. Although the current situation was still uncertain, it was enough to prove how wise his decision to protect Chen Hao was. Especially after seeing Bailey Ningbing with Chen Hao's people, he was even more relieved. More importantly, he vaguely guessed who Bailey Ningbing's real father was, controller, the Manhuang tribe's patriarch, Poison King Valley's master, Lan family's master, Misty Rain Tower's master, and others request an audience. The Fan family's patriarch said respectfully, Good. As long as you come, please come in. Come to the main hall of the Fan family's main hall. Chen Hao and Long Ting naturally didn't see the bustling scene outside, and didn't know what their father said to Bailey Ningbing. Of course, they didn't know about Hu Meinyang, who hadn't been mentioned yet. Han Mei True Immortal stopped Chen Wuliang not because he had a problem with Hu Meinyang, but because Hu Meinyang's background wasn't something that could be explained in a few words. There were still many secrets that even Chen Wuliang didn't understand. It could be said that Hu Meinyang herself didn't even know that she had parents. Zit. Yi Lan sat cross-legged in the cultivation room. Although his body was still hunched, his cloudy eyes were now clear and bright. He looked at Chen Hao and Long Ting with bright eyes, becoming more and more benevolent. Unfortunately, Chen Hao and Long Ting felt like they were being seen through under his gaze, as if they could no longer keep any secrets. Chapter 897. It's been billions of years. When little Xian disappeared from this world, she was about the same age as you. Little Ting's appearance is almost the same as little Xian's, and the aura of your bloodline inheritance is exactly the same as little Xian's. Yi Lan's eyes became cloudy again. He raised his head and looked at the ceiling of the training room, as if he was looking at the endless galaxy. His old face was filled with loneliness and loneliness. Chen Hao and Long Ting could feel Yi Lan's longing for his daughter. However, Chen Hao was still fine. After all, he knew how he was born. Strictly speaking, he was a product of science, a fusion and clone of two genes, and not the most primitive reproduction of humans. However, Long Ting, the thick-skinned girl, was extremely nervous and worried at this moment. If she was related to Chen Hao by blood, and Chen Hao became her direct relative, wouldn't that be terrible? Although the two of them didn't take the final step, Long Ting's heart had long belonged to Chen Hao. No matter what, she couldn't accept such a fact. Long Ting was so nervous that her delicate body trembled slightly. Fortunately, Chen Hao held her small hand tightly, comforting her slightly as she waited quietly. Little Xian has always been my pride. Innate at 10, human immortal at 15, earth immortal at 21, heaven immortal at 28, and Daoyuo at 69. Not to mention our chaotic universe, even in the greater worlds that are more powerful than ours. She can be called a top genius. Yilan recalled and said slowly with a hint of pride in his calm voice. Although Chen Hao and Long Ting already knew that Yi Xian was known as the first genius girl in the vast universe galaxy, and might also be unmatched in the future, they were still shocked when they heard Yi Xian's experience. Chen Hao could be said to be heaven-defying, but compared to Yi Xian, there was still a huge gap. What kind of concept was a 69-year-old Daoyuo Jingxian? Of course, Chen Hao also knew that the environment and cultivation resources he grew up in couldn't be compared to Yi Xian's. Her opportunities and luck are incomparable. Unfortunately, Yilan shook his head and sighed. If she hadn't disappeared, she would be the strongest person in the vast universe galaxy, or perhaps the strongest person in the ancient chaos universe, boundless 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 universe. Boundless universe, 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 boundless universe. Boundless universe, 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 boundless. Yilan's eyes became bright as he stared at Chen. Senior, are you sure we're related to Senior Yi Xian? Chen Hao asked. Although he had already determined that he was related to Yilan, and the 10,000-year-old ancient corpse on Earth should be Yilan, Chen Hao still had doubts in his heart. Hundreds of millions of years was too long. Not to mention Yi Xian had lost consciousness. Even in a perfect state, Daoyuo Jingxian didn't have such a long lifespan. Otherwise Yilan, who was a true immortal, wouldn't look so old. True immortality was easier said than done. At the same time, the information involved in Yilan's words made Chen Hao hear information about a higher level of the cultivation world for the first time. The chaotic universe galaxy should be the name of the universe he was in at this moment. In this deep, vast and mysterious galaxy, there were even more worlds that were stronger than the chaotic universe. What kind of existence was Earth? Cultivators were boundless, and the peak was ethereal. Chen Hao knew that the path he had to walk was still very, very far away. When you stepped into the second world, I knew. The second world is me, and I am the second world. When your mind and aura are connected to the second world, there are no secrets to me. However, you're a little special. There are some things I can't read, such as the specific content of the 3,000 great Daos, and the true immortal treasure in your mind. True immortal treasure? Chen Hao said in surprise. Huh, it's just that you don't know. You can ask the old god. Yilan said with a smile. The memories in Chen Hao's mind were no secret to him. He naturally knew about the old god's existence. He should be the guardian of the true immortal treasure. You were able to come from Earth to the chaotic universe galaxy not because of Little Jade, but because of this true immortal treasure. Even if Little Jade was awake, it would be difficult for her to come back, let alone send you here. That's an existence that surpasses the doors of time and space. Connecting the 3,000 worlds is a true journey of time and space. The past, present, future, past life, present life, future life, and even the reincarnation of 100 lives. It can all be done in an instant with a thought. It's definitely a true top-grade immortal treasure. Otherwise, with the nourishment chamber on Earth, how could you travel through time and space? How could you have the ability to refine weapons that surpass your own realm by several levels? How could you have a big world in your mind now? This? Chen Hao was shocked. Old God. Cough cough. Master, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but I can't tell you. And I can't tell you because even I don't know. Only with the improvement of your realm can I continue to obtain more information. I think this seal is also to protect you, Master. You see, if you knew in advance, Such an expert would unknowingly check your memories. Wouldn't that be very dangerous? What he said might be true. But right now I really don't know, Master. You have to believe me. I really don't have any reservations about you now. Old God, who returned with Chun Nan, Chun Yan and the others, said in Chun Hao's mind. His words were sincere and even more pitiful. Come out and tell me. Chun Hao said as a ray of light shot out from between his eyebrows. Old God suddenly appeared in the cultivation room. Then you at least know what's going on with Yi Xian, right? She should be your previous master, right? Master, this is really not. Yi Xian only obtained my previous master's inheritance by chance. But she can't make me recognize her as my master. However, she can come to earth and fall into a deep sleep. I know what's going on. What's going on? Chun Hao and Yi Lan asked at the same time. Yi Lan's old face was even more excited than Chun Hao's. After hundreds of millions of years, it was finally the first time he had received accurate information about his daughter. Anyone would be inexplicably excited. This, old God, I don't want you to hide anything. All right, I'll tell you. I hope old Yi won't blame me. After hundreds of millions of years, I'm already very happy to receive information about little Xian. I won't blame you. Yi Lan frowned slightly and said as he shook his head. Chapter 898. Although the old god didn't say anything, Yi Lan was certain that his daughter's disappearance was caused by the old god, or the true immortal treasure that the old god was guarding. Otherwise, the old god wouldn't have told him not to blame him in advance. It's like this. The first condition of my previous masters is that the origin imprint must be on Earth. In fact, Earth isn't as simple as it seems, even though it's already in the age of chaos. I can't tell you the specifics for now. Cough cough, it's not that I can't, it's that I don't know and can't say. Every master, if determined to be unable to meet the requirements of my treasure, would collapse and die. And I would also collapse until only a wisp of consciousness was left, waiting for an opportunity to seek the next master. Every time this happened, the treasure I was guarding would sense Earth's call. After devouring endless energy, it would cross the endless starry sky and return to Earth. When it devoured energy, including the energy contained in the surrounding powerful life forms, under normal circumstances, it would bring countless life forms to Earth. However, none of them survived. All energy was devoured, and Earth was in the age of chaos, so there was no energy of heaven and earth. These life forms could only face death. When the last master collapsed, Yi Xian, who was training in the chaotic space, happened to be swallowed as a body of energy. But Yi Xian's body was truly immortal and indestructible, possessing endless potential for evolution. Although all her energy was swallowed, she didn't collapse. Instead, she was integrated into the magic treasure, evolving into a state where she coexisted with the magic treasure. The old god paused for a moment before continuing. After arriving on Earth, if the spiritual energy on Earth was abundant, Yi Xian would have been able to wake up soon and recover her strength. However, there was no energy left on Earth for cultivators to absorb, and she couldn't obtain the recognition of my treasure. Therefore, she couldn't receive the treasure's reciprocal nourishment, so she fell into a deep sleep until you appeared, Master. I see. Yi Lan's wrinkled old face twitched slightly due to excitement. Then when I came to this world, what was the terrifying explosion? I clearly saw. That kind of explosion was nothing to Yi Xian's physical body. Master, you can easily do it too. However, now that the treasure and I have followed you here, I don't know what will happen to Yi Xian without the treasure coexisting. The old god said. Old god, how different is the space-time law on Earth from here? Yi Lan suddenly asked. One day on Earth, 10,000 years of chaos. In the endless Milky Way, I've followed the masters of the past. No matter which universe I'm in, I've never met one that's less than 10,000 times. Hiss. More than 10,000 times. His calm words made Yi Lan, Chun Hao and Long Ting suck in a breath of cold air. Even though Chun Hao had long believed that the earth was definitely not as simple as it seemed because of the secrets of the Taoist canon, he was still extremely shocked at this moment. What kind of powerful universal law was required to maintain the space-time law that was 10,000 times stronger than the vast thousand worlds of ancient chaos? He's so strong. Did the ancient almighties on Earth really disappear? Where did they all go? Is the Earth that I know the real Earth? Chen Hao took a deep breath and asked. Chen Hao had always thought that he had no attachment to Earth. In his previous life he had no relatives, no friends, and there was not even a warmth that was worth remembering. His life and obsession were all for the pursuit of immortality. What was there on Earth, where the spiritual qi of heaven and earth had dried up, that was worth his sentimental attachment? However, every time he received news about Earth, he couldn't help himself. After all, that was the place where he was born and where his origin mark was located. And now, it made Chen Hao have a strong desire to explore. What kind of existence were the ancient almighties, and the mythological era, that disappeared? The 9 prefectures that were recorded in myths and legends were not something that could be discovered by the thousands of years of Earth civilization, and the Earth that Chen Hao knew. When he thought of the mysterious Earth that he couldn't find the slightest clue in his pursuit of immortality, Chen Hao's desire to explore the unknown completely erupted. More importantly, Chen Hao strongly felt that Earth would inevitably be the biggest key to his journey to the peak of cultivation. Master, I can't tell you the specifics. I can only tell you that what you see is only a very small corner of Earth. Your so-called science detects the whole picture of Earth. It's half true and half false. A world in a grain of sand, a Bodhi in a leaf. With Master's current vision, I believe that Master can find clues without me saying more. Old God said. Old God, can you take us to Earth? Yilan suddenly asked. I can't. You can see that I'm only the guardian of the artifact. My ability is limited. Only if Master's ability continues to improve, and can always meet the requirements of the artifact's restriction, will there be hope to return to Earth. Otherwise, returning to Earth means Master's collapse. I thought there was hope. It seems that even if I succeed in Nirvana and have millions of years of life, I may not be able to wait until the day little Xian returns. Old God's words made Yilan, the strongest person in the vast universe galaxy, feel bitter. He'd originally thought that he would be able to rescue Yi Xian with Chen Hao's clues and understanding that he was unable to read some of the memories in Chen Hao's mind. But now it would seem like it was utterly impossible. When he spoke up to hear, Yilan gazed at Chen Hao and Long Ting, and then he said, How are even though you weren't born of reproduction, little Xian's bloodline flows within you. Old Man and little Xian are also your relatives, right? Senior, I know what you mean. One day, I will return to Earth. No matter the price, as long as I can do it, I will definitely bring Senior Yi Xian to you, Chen Hao said with great certainty. Good. Thank you. I hope I can still wait for that day. Senior. What about me? I'm exactly the same as Senior Yilan. What's going on? At this time, although Long Ting was surprised, she still asked the question that worried her the most. You are indeed closely related to little Xian. However, you don't have to worry. You are not little Xian's descendant. Until she disappeared, she didn't have a cultivation partner. In the world, at least in the chaotic universe, there is no one who can catch her eye. Your Long family's ancestor was not originally human. This point, and you already know. Magical technology. Yilan couldn't help but sigh. He knew most of Chen Hao's memories and all of Long Ting's memories. Therefore, he was clear about Chen Hao's deduction of Long Ting's genetic origin technology. Chapter 899. Yilan continued. She was Long Qian, the daughter of the ancient true Dragon King of the ancient chaos universe. Little Jade saved her life when she was in danger. Out of gratitude, and also because of Little Jade's talent and potential, Long Qian took the initiative to sign a lifelong master-servant contract with Little Jade. After Little Jade disappeared, Long Qian searched for her for countless years, but eventually gave up. She missed Little Jade so much that she activated the ancient True Dragon clan's ultimate transformation secret technique. After the ultimate transformation, she became a true human, and her human form became her normal form. At that time, she chose Little Jade's appearance. In the last life of 100 reincarnations, She formed the Long family with a human genius and took root in the vast universe galaxy. However, after the reincarnation cycle ended, Long Qian, whose talent and potential were not much worse than little Jade's, truly gained human emotions and advanced by leaps and bounds. She successfully reached the Tao-severing stage and stepped into the ranks of true immortals. After that, she left the ancient chaos universe again to search for little Jade. The Long family, in your generation, has been blessed by fate. You have awakened the bloodline of the true Dragon King since you were born. And your appearance is exactly the same as Long Xi's true body. Yi Lan's words caused Long Ting and Chen Hao to both breathe a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were also very shocked, especially Long Ting. She had never imagined that such a secret existed in her family. Even in the family's records, there was not a single word about it. All this time, the Long family's decline had been attributed to the departure of their ancestor, causing them to lose their karmic luck, or to some sort of curse. When Long Qian left ancient chaos to search for little Jade, she had once asked me to look after the Long family. Unfortunately, it had been too long, billions of years. In addition, I had been severely injured in the battle with the ambitious Xiao family old ancestor. I could only choose to use my true self to undergo nirvana and transform into the second world, to absorb the power of faith from the world's cultivators. However, the severely injured Xiao family old ancestor used the Xiao family's strong foundation and power to prevent the spread of the second world. I could only rely on a few reliable subordinates to absorb the meager power of faith, to maintain my true self. I struggled at death's door until Brother Chen Wuliang rose up. Only then would the second world truly spread throughout the vast universe galaxy. Only then would my true self nirvana be able to continue. When you were in your mother's womb, the supreme treasure that your Long family's patriarch obtained was the inheritance treasure that Long Qian left behind when she left. Long Ting was shocked. Don't be surprised. Fortune and misfortune are hard to predict, and the design of heaven is hard to predict. Losing half of it is destined to happen. Now Hauer has helped you get it back from Guanu, but you have to advance to the peak of Daluo Jingxian before you can reunite with it and truly obtain Long Qian's inheritance. Yi Lan seemed to see through Long Ting's doubts and said directly, "At that time you should get the ancestral teachings left by Long Qian. Alas, it is little Qian's blessing to have such a loyal sister like Long Qian. Unfortunately, I can't help you much in the Nirvana realm. I can only open some special missions for your Long family in the second world. And they must be within the scope of your and my abilities. The second world belongs to me, but I have to abide by the rules set by it." Yi Lan paused for a moment and continued. "As for the ancestral teachings left by Long Qian, if I'm not wrong, it should be related to little Qian, and it is very likely that it contains the aura of the master-servant contract between her and little Qian. So when Hao has the ability to return to Earth, it would be best if you could come with him, little Ting. The senses of the master-servant contract are much stronger and more accurate than one's own senses. It doesn't rely on aura. Moreover, hundreds of millions of years have passed, and Long Qian's fate is unknown. At that time, with little Qian's temperament, she will inevitably look for Long Qian again. It will depend on you." "Don't worry, Senior Yi, I will definitely go with Brother Hao," Long Ting said without hesitation. That's good. Alright, there is not much time left. The life and death battle between Hao and Xiao Yin seems simple, but it concerns the fate of the vast universe galaxy in the future. No matter what, you must withstand this battle. The Xiao clan's ancestor has never given up on his ambition to unify the vast universe galaxy, and even the entire chaotic universe. If it weren't for me and Brother Wu Liang joining forces to deter him from acting recklessly, I'm afraid he would have succeeded long ago. The reason why your father couldn't stop this battle is also within my expectations. Because we are afraid that the Xiao clan's ancestor will fight to the death. If that happened, it would be a catastrophe for the entire vast universe galaxy. It concerns the life and death of hundreds of millions of lives. So he insists on fighting, and he has an excuse. We can only admit that. Xiao Yan is very strong. "I know," Chen Hao said calmly. But his eyes shone with sharpness and determination. In the same realm, Even if he started cultivating more than 1,000 years later than Xiaoyan, with the experience in the primitive mystic realm, Chen Hao still had the confidence to fight. In his past experience, when had he not challenged those of a higher realm? Back then, he had no background, and he didn't have the support of any cultivation resources. It could be said that he had relied entirely on his own strength to walk step by step to where he was today. How many life and death situations had he experienced, and how many miracles had he created? Even he couldn't remember clearly. The arrogance in his bones made it so that he would never surrender. As long as his opponent didn't surpass him by too much, he had the confidence to win. He is definitely stronger than you think, much stronger than the rumors. He has already completely awakened the Shao clan's ancestors' 9 lives inheritance. More importantly, I suspect that Xiaoyan is the Shao clan's ancestors' 10th life. What? This time, Chen Hao was finally unable to remain calm. Yi Lan's words were too shocking, and at the same time, Chen Hao didn't understand. 9 lives, 9 lives, how did it become 10 lives? Then how can we fight? Isn't this sending ourselves to death? Long Ting said in shock. I also hope that this isn't true. But all the signs and the Shao clan's ancestors' attitude make this possibility extremely high. 9, the extreme number. My true self has undergone nirvana, and the only way the Shao clan's ancestor can contend against me is to break through the limit of 9 lives. However, you don't have to worry too much. Even if Xiaoyan is the Shao clan's ancestor's 10th life, he is only Xiaoyan for the time being. Even if he is at the peak of the heavenly immortal realm, he can only use the power of the 10th life. His greatest advantage is that he can obtain the Shao clan's ancestors' battle experience and comprehension of the heavenly Tao. It can be said that Xiaoyan can unleash the peak of his strength. Chen Hao frowned slightly. He was very clear about what Yi Lan's words meant. Simply put, it was like a peerless expert being reborn. Although his cultivation was limited to the peak of the heavenly immortal realm, he had the state of mind, comprehension, and experience of a peerless expert. He could use his strength to the extreme. This was undoubtedly an extremely terrifying thing. It was like the Shao clan's ancestor had sealed his cultivation to fight him. Chapter 900. So, in this battle, I don't seek victory. I only seek not to die. You have the same physical body as little Jade, and your soul is suppressed by a true immortal treasure that surpasses my knowledge. Dying together is also very difficult. I believe that the Shao clan ancestor does not know this. Even if you know, it's useless. But once it's destroyed, it will take a very long time for you to completely recover. So what you need to do now is to raise your immortal and indestructible ability as much as possible. Little Jade's immortal and indestructible body is not something that she was born with. It was a nameless breathing technique that she obtained from a huge opportunity. Little Jade once taught me, but unfortunately, with my cultivation, I was unable to comprehend it and only understood the surface. But it allowed me to comprehend the nirvana of my true self. Perhaps you should be able to. I will teach it to you now. Little Ting can also try. Yilan said. Nameless breathing technique. Senior Yi. There are less than 2 days left. No matter how good Brother Hao's comprehension is, what progress can there be? Long Ting said. Don't worry, why did I close the second world? The space-time laws of the second world are 10. One with vast universe galaxy. If it is specially condensed for you, it can reach 1000. 1. It is enough for you to comprehend. This breathing technique is related to the physical body and soul origin. Even if you only comprehend the surface, it will play a key role in this life and death battle. Begin. Wang. Yi Lan's eyes suddenly lit up and 2 milky white light of memory shot out from between his eyebrows and entered between Chen Hao and Long Ting's eyebrows. Immediately, Yi Lan's 2 withered hands formed dazzling and complicated runes at an astonishing speed and entered the space around the two. The space-time laws were condensed. At this moment, Chen Hao and Long Ting suddenly seemed to fall into a world of absolute silence. Heaven and earth suddenly disappeared, as if they had entered the realm of nothingness. Their thoughts jumped abnormally, clearly sensing the terrifying changes in the space-time laws and finally freezing. Unknowable, also unknowable. even unknowable death, also unknowable death. The unknowable is not a real body. Like a person in a dream. When the dream is not unknowable, but when awakened, there is nothing gained. Like the splendor of the universe extinguishing in the void. It cannot be said that there is a place to extinguish. Why? There is no place to live. All living things are born in the absence of life, and they see life and death in vain. This is why it is called the cycle of life and death. All living beings come from no beginning, and all kinds of things are reversed. It's as if they're bewitching the four directions and changing places. They mistakenly believe that the four directions are their own forms, and the six primordial shadows are their own forms. All forms are illusory. If all forms are not forms, then the five skandhas are all empty. The five skandhas are like the ocean, all empty like the shore of the other side. Through the sea of bitterness of life and death, one reaches the shore of nirvana. The emptiness of all dharmas, neither filth nor purity, neither increase nor decrease, neither birth nor destruction. The true self is originally unsullied, so it is also not pure. It is originally lifeless, so it is also indestructible. It does not decrease in the mortal, and it does not increase in the divine. Away from all falsehood, there is neither emptiness nor existence, there is neither reality nor emptiness. This is the true self. When Chen Hao began to read the Nameless Heart Sutra passed down by Yi Lan, what surprised Chen Hao was that this Heart Sutra actually originated from the Buddhist scriptures on earth, the Sutra of Enlightenment, the Diamond Sutra, and the Heart Sutra. Chen Hao had also dabbled in these before, but at that time, it was the same as the Taoist supreme arts. Chen Hao could not comprehend it, and could not cultivate it like the supreme arts of the martial arts world. According to his view at that time, Buddhist scriptures were a kind of spiritual sustenance, faith, and spiritual cultivation. To put it bluntly, it was reciting scriptures to get rid of worries, to seek peace of mind, and to be healthy. To immortality, it was basically meaningless. But now, Chen Hao realized that he had a mountain of treasures in his hands, but he did not know it. Just a few thousand words of scripture, but it contained the immortality, indestructibility, and even the everlasting Tao of immortality. All living beings are born without life, they see life and death in vain. The true life, the true self, is lifeless. Without life, how can there be death? To be born without being born, to be destroyed without being destroyed, to move without moving, to be formless without form, to prove the lifeless Dharma endurance. Everything in the world is relative. If there is life, then there is death. If there is coming, then there is going. If there is good, then there is evil. If there is right, then there is wrong. If there is movement, then there is stillness. This is the life and death Dharma, the reversal of Buddhism, which is also an illusion. If you are controlled by the life and death Dharma, you can only be immortal. In this life and death Dharma, if you can see the true self that is neither born nor destroyed, then you can pass the sea of suffering, reach the other shore, and achieve immortality. Chen Hao understood the meaning of the scripture almost effortlessly, but to truly understand the true meaning of the great Tao that it contained, it was not something that could be done in a short period of time. Phew! Chen Hao let out a long sigh. He looked at the endless void that was condensed by Yi Lan's divine power, and sat down cross-legged. With a thought, the Tempest Temple that he remembered from the myths on earth was born around him. At the same time, a strangely shaped green lamp and a wooden fish appeared beside him. At the same time, an ancient Buddha appeared. What is this kid doing? Yi Lan, who was paying attention to Chen Hao's condition, saw Chen Hao's strange actions and was very puzzled. One should know that he had read most of Chen Hao's memories. But now, Chen Hao had condensed the palace and the utensils that Chen Hao had condensed with his divine power. The thing that caused Yi Lan to frown slightly was that the ancient Buddha condensed by Chen Hao was filled with an auspicious and transcendent aura, and it was like a divine statue that existed for eternity. But the appearance of the ancient Buddha was clearly Chen Hao himself. Believing in himself. What a strong confidence. This kid is only at the heaven celestial stage, but he has such a great spirit that looks down on the world. No wonder he can achieve so much at such a young age. Compared to him, I am really old. The greater one's ambition, the greater one's talent. When Chen Hao comprehended his own Tao, found the direction of his efforts, and confirmed his goal, he already understood that on the path of cultivation, one would lose if one believed in others and worshipped others. The only one could believe in was himself. However, the reason why Chen Hao had condensed the great thunderclap temple, the green lamp, the wooden fish, and other utensils in his memories was not too much of a thought. It was just based on his superficial understanding of Buddhism to seek the opportunity of epiphany. Buddhism emphasized the karma of the 3 lifetimes, the 12 karmas, and epiphany. Chen Hao was very clear that the sutra that he understood was only the superficial meaning. It was definitely not that easy to understand. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of the wooden fish rang. Chen Hao began to recite the sutra in a state of not seeking to understand, no obsession, and no desire. 9 returned to 1. Qi. In the depths of the void in a pure land, the Shao clan's patriarch shouted softly. Endless celestial light and Tao laws surged out. Xiao Yan's 9 lives and 9 bodies immediately began to merge slowly in a strange formation. At this moment in the endless void, the energy of heaven and earth suddenly became violent, and a terrifying tribulation cloud condensed. 9 returned to 1, the dead one, the 10 born. This was a heaven-defying existence. But the moment it formed, it was destroyed by the Shao clan's patriarch with a flick of his finger. Xiao Yan, who was gradually merging, had an increasingly painful expression. His originally extremely handsome face became ferocious and extremely terrifying. Just from this appearance, one could tell that the pain that Xiao Yan was enduring was extremely shocking. Chapter 901. Xiao Yan derived. The meaning of the name proved Yilan's guess. Xiao Yan was the Shao clan's patriarch's 10th life. However, Xiao Yan himself was not born from the Shao clan's patriarch, but a direct descendant of the Shao clan. But since he was in his mother's womb, when his soul was still in a chaotic state and his consciousness had yet to be born, he was parasitized by the Shao clan's patriarch's primordial spirit. 9, the extreme number. How could it be easy to break through? Even the Shao clan's patriarch, who had lived for hundreds of millions of years, could not do it. He could only find a shortcut and use the evil path to achieve it. The complex memories, which contain the Shao clan's patriarch's hundreds of millions of years of comprehension of the heavenly Tao, and battle experience, surged like thousands of streams flowing into the sea, constantly fusing into Xiao Yan's mind. No. Patriarch. At this point, Xiao Yan's soul already knew what was going to happen. He had never thought that he would be the patriarch's puppet. Feeling the endless pain of his soul being devoured, fear, unwillingness, anger, all kinds of negative emotions crazily spread in Xiao Yan's heart. He howled at the top of his lungs, but he could not stop it at all. Don't blame me. Before you were born, your fate was already decided. It's just that I didn't expect it to come so early. I originally planned to wait until you stepped into the great circle of the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland before starting. Unfortunately, Chen Hao succeeded in Dao severing, and that old fart named Yi is about to succeed in Nirvana. Although you have almost absolute confidence in killing Chen Hao, I can't afford to lose. The Shao clan's patriarch's old voice resounded in Xiao Yan's mind. The primordial spirit parasitized Xiao Yan's soul, and the speed of devouring became faster and faster. Give up resisting. Your soul is destined to collapse. However, your death is worth it. Sacrifice yourself for me, for the future glory of the Shao clan, and become my 10th life. If one day I can break through to the true immortal realm, step into the creator realm, and control the most mysterious river of fate in the world, I will reverse time and space and rebuild your life imprint. Ah, patriarch. You shameless. 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 Ah. Xiao Yan roared madly and miserably. But how could a mere heavenly immortal resist the primordial spirit imprint of the Shao clan's old ancestor in his soul palace? In less than 2 hours, Xiao Yan's voice could no longer be heard. 9 nines returned to 1. The 10th fate was complete. Very good, very good. You're only at the perfection heavenly celestial stage, yet you possess such strength. You're not inferior to me when I was young. What a pity. After the Xiao clan's patriarch completely occupied Xiaoyan, he sensed the power in Xiaoyan's body and said excitedly. Although it was a little regretful, it was only a little. 2 days later, I'd like to see who can stop it. Ha ha ha. The old ancestor of the Xiao clan said with a laugh. Although the 10th anima still required a lot of time to grow, it was still a success. Based on his understanding of the magical laws of the Tao of Heaven, as well as his battle experience, he would definitely be able to increase Xiaoyan's battle prowess several-fold, even if he was only in his 10th anima. Furthermore, he would definitely be more powerful than Xiaoyan's 9th anima. The Xiao clan's patriarch could see that Chen Hao was far more important to Chen Wuliang than he had imagined. It was hard to guarantee that Chen Wuliang wouldn't do something crazy. Furthermore, through the information he'd gathered about Chen Hao, he'd discovered that Chen Hao was definitely a heaven-defying life form comparable to Yi Xian. If such a person truly matured before he'd reached the 10th anima, and before he'd fully recovered from the injuries he'd suffered from that old bastard Yi Lan, he'd be too terrifying. At that time, if Yi Lan, Chen Hao, and Chen Wuliang joined forces, he wouldn't be able to contend against them at all. Back then, I used some methods to prevent Yi Xian from discovering any clues and took Yi Xian away. Although she disappeared for hundreds of millions of years, it's still unknown whether she's dead or alive. It's already like a thorn in my flesh, and now there's a Chen Hao who's comparable to Yi Xian. Moreover, this Chen Hao's physique is almost the same as Yi Xian's. There's a high possibility that there's some connection between them. How can I make the same mistake again? The Xiao clan's patriarch's eyes flickered as he thought to himself. No one knew, not even Yi Lan, that Yi Xian's disappearance back then wasn't entirely a coincidence, that she was swallowed by the terrifying black hole space. Back then, Yi Xian was merely Daoyuo Jingxian. Although her talent was heaven-defying and her battle strength was terrifying to the extreme, she was still far from being able to travel the starry skies. The reason why they had coincidentally encountered each other was that after the Xiao clan's patriarch had coincidentally sensed the terrifying devouring, he had used a little trick to lure Yi Xian out without anyone noticing. Then he had pretended to escape with a miniature space-time gate, and Yi Xian had chased after him and sent him over. He had originally thought that Yi Xian was dead for sure, but he hadn't expected that Yi Xian had only gone missing. This had been like a fishbone stuck in his throat for many years. Only after hundreds of millions of years had passed, and she still hadn't returned, did he feel slightly relieved. After all, with Yi Xian's talent, if she matured, he definitely wouldn't be able to resist Yi Lan and Yi Xian. Now Chen Hao had appeared. His talent was on par with Yi Xian's, and his physical body was even the same. Most importantly, he was Chen Wuyang's son, and was on the same side as Yi Lan. How could he let him grow? This was also the real reason why the Xiao clan's patriarch didn't hesitate to threaten to fight to the death with Chen Hao. Dong, dong, dong. According to Pan Rua Permitha, the heart has no worries. No worries, no worries. Far away from the inverted dream, in the end nirvana, the sound of the wooden fish, which had the effect of calming the mind, was accompanied by Chen Hao's clear and transcendent chanting of scriptures. In the beginning, Yi Lan didn't feel that it had any great effect. It was just the situation that made him think otherwise. However, as time passed, every rhythmic sound of the wooden fish seemed to be knocking on his soul. At the same time, Chen Hao's chanting of scriptures also became more and more transcendent and elegant. The aura of his true body became more and more solemn and vast. A mysterious fluctuation that Yi Lan had never sensed in scripture spread out from Chen Hao's body, mysterious and profound. Dong! As Chen Hao struck the wooden fish, it seemed to carry with it a faint golden light. It was as if golden ripples were spreading through the void. At the same time, Chen Hao's chanting naturally evolved into the supreme realm that appeared when chanting the primary outline of the great Tao, lotus blossoming tongue. It was only at this time that Yi Lan was truly shocked. His wrinkled old face was suffused with a red glow of excitement. He only pondered for a moment before his mind merged with Chen Hao's chanting of scriptures and the sound of the wooden fish. Under the laws of time and space, nearly 2,000 days passed in the blink of an eye. Buzz. How are time's up? Yi Lan's voice with a trace of excitement and anticipation appeared in Chen Hao's mind. the chanting of scriptures, and the sound of the wooden fish came to an abrupt end. Chen Hao slowly opened his eyes. Chapter 902. Brother Yi Tianxi. The door of the palace opened, and Yi Lan, Chen Hao, and a sleepy Long Ting walked out together. Outside the door, Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, Shui Mei, and everyone else had been waiting. Chen Wuliang instantly released an extremely powerful divine sense, and locked onto Chen Hao. What a pity! What a pity the time is too short. Too short. Carefully sensing Chen Hao's aura, Chen Wuliang frowned slightly. Just as he was about to ask, Yi Lan shook his head regretfully and said. This caused the hearts of the crowd, which were already worried about Chen Hao, to become even heavier. Yes, 2 days. Although Chen Wuliang had told everyone that Yi Lan would definitely condense an independent space of space-time law, the time was still too short. No matter how strong Yi Lan was, and no matter how high Chen Hao's comprehension was, how much improvement could they make? Amazing Hauer is really amazing. To the crowd's surprise and bafflement, Yi Lan said such a thing again. What did this mean? Brother, don't worry too much. Hauer is stronger than I thought. Although it's only been 2 days, I believe that the situation is definitely much better than 2 days ago. Brother, is it true? I sense no change. Chen Wuliang said doubtfully. You said the time was short and now you're saying this again. Don't comfort me. I want to know the real situation so that I can prepare in advance. Otherwise, it'll be a life and death struggle. Chen Wuliang's eyes suddenly surged with a terrifying light. Obviously, he had already made up his mind. Don't act recklessly. Brother, you're the ruler of the vast universe galaxy. Don't you know what a life and death struggle means? I said the time was short because the mental cultivation method I taught Hao, could be interpreted by him with Dao sounds. And it gave me new insights. Father, mother, you don't have to worry. A while ago, I had a feeling that this should be a great tribulation that I must overcome. No matter what happens, I'll definitely return alive. Chen Hao's expression was extremely calm as he spoke frankly. By now, his keen intuition had become increasingly aware of the aura of danger. Add that to the fact that he had been in a daze that night. And despite his confidence, Chen Hao still had the feeling that this great tribulation would descend upon him. I believe in you. Let's go, it's almost time. Brother, don't be impulsive. I'll hide in the shadows for now. It's time. In the void, the pure land condensed by the Xiao family ancestor suddenly collapsed. Xiao Yin took a single step forward and appeared in the skies above East City. In the central plaza of the East Flow City Alliance, countless cultivators had gathered. Immortal light flickered, and each of them was an old man with a sage-like demeanor. Up and down, left and right, they were densely packed in all directions. All of them were cultivators above the heavenly celestial stage. Moreover, those who were qualified to come in and watch either had a powerful background or were experts with astonishing combat strength. And this was only on the surface. Among them, there were over 10,000 Hongming Supremes. All of them had crystal lights shooting out from between their eyebrows. It was clear that the great mind worlds of Supremes Hongmeng were connected to the outside world. Their great mind worlds were naturally filled with juniors and cultivators from their sections. Just how many people could spectate? It was impossible to estimate. Even the protective barriers of the Alliance had been completely opened. The void outside the Alliance's central square was also filled with cultivators. Although this was only a battle between the heavenly immortal realm Xiao Yan and Chen Hao, it was possible that heavenly retribution would be triggered midway and evolve into a battle between Daoyuo Jingxian. But without a doubt, this was destined to be a sensational battle that hadn't occurred in vast universe galaxy for the last 10 billion years, or even 100 billion years. This was because of Xiao Yan and Chen Hao's identities. One was the #1 genius of vast universe galaxy's #1 family that had stood tall for 1 trillion years, an existence that had obtained the 9-life inheritance of the Xiao family ancestor. The other was an unprecedented genius of vast universe galaxy, Yi Xian, the son of vast universe galaxy's ruler, Chen Wuliang. The previous battle between Chen Wuliang and the Xiao family ancestor allowed everyone to understand that one of these two was destined to stand at the peak of vast universe galaxy. How could this not be sensational? The Xiao family's 11 true immortals had already arrived at the central square. They sat like boulders, their eyes shining with a cold light. Together with them were over 100 Hongming supremes of the Xiao family, as well as the high-level figures of the Wan family, Bai family, and other powerful families. There was also the Valley Master of Happy Valley, who was trembling with fear and apprehension. Now that things had developed to this point, the ant-like existence of Happy Valley was no longer in control. Whether they won or lost, their future days would be miserable. But now, they could only endure and continue to cooperate. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know how they died. The Wuxia star was a weak planet. Although it was still weak, compared to before, its fame could be said to have shaken the entire vast universe galaxy. Even many of the alien races knew about the existence of the Wuxia star, because of killing god Chen Hao. Now they even learned that the last life of Chen Wuliang's 100 reincarnations, which was also the life where he broke through, was on the Wuxia star. Furthermore, the Wuxia star was different from the unstable Happy Valley. The Happy Valley was merely a tool for the Xiao clan to use. There was no affection to speak of. On the other hand, the Wuxia star was an existence that Chen Wuliang and Chen Hao had to protect. There was no such thing as burning the bridge after crossing the river, and not caring about it. At this time, there were only 5 people from the Wuxia star. Chen Hao's eldest senior brother, second senior brother, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, Lu Qingyang, and Guan Nanchao, whom Chen Hao hadn't seen yet, and whom Chen Hao owed a great debt of gratitude. They couldn't be compared to the Xiao family at all. It could be said that any expert from the Xiao family could kill the 5 of them. At this moment, the 5 of them were worried because they knew that the chances of Chen Hao winning this battle could be said to be close to 0. Buzz. Suddenly, heaven and earth shook, and a terrifying pressure poured down from the 9 heavens. The void cracked open, and lingering celestial light and endless Tao laws spewed out. An old man and a young man stepped on the void and arrived. They're here, the Xiao family's patriarch and Xiao Yan. At this moment, everyone looked up at the void and looked up at one of the main characters of today's battle, the undying old monster who had existed for hundreds of millions of years, and one of the strongest experts in the vast universe galaxy. Greetings, Patriarch, Patriarch. The members of the Xiao family immediately bowed, and their voices resounded through the 9 heavens. Even they didn't know that the current Xiao Yan was no longer the Xiao Yan of the past. The old man and the young man could be said to be the 2 most dazzling existences in the Xiao family. But there was only one person, the Xiao family's patriarch. Xiao Yan will win. Xiao Yan will win. At the same time, the cultivators who were destined to be on the same boat as the Xiao family, as well as Xiao Yan's followers and admirers, all let out loud cheers. Humph. At this moment, a cold snort pierced through the sky. Chapter 903. Space trembled and ripples appeared. Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, Xue Mei, Chen Hao, a bare-chested old man who was 4 to 5 times the size of an ordinary person, and hundreds of Hongmeng Supremes slowly descended from the void to the side of the 5 from Limitless Star. Greetings, Overseer. The sound waves instantly filled the world, drowning out all other shouts. This time, all the cultivators who appeared here, except for those from the Xiao family, and those who were loyal to the Xiao family, had no choice but to pay their respects to Chen Wuliang, the current overseer. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. After a brief moment of silence, a sea of shouts erupted. The glabella of some of the Hongmeng Supremes instantly shone 1,000 times brighter. No one had expected, not even Chen Hao himself, that his prestige among the young cultivators of vast universe galaxy would rise to such a high level. A terrifying momentum instantly caused Chen Hao to boil. The hearts of the people, the momentum of the people, the destiny. Chen Hao was shocked. He could clearly sense a mysterious aura that was 1,000 times stronger than ever before. It was not power, but it could allow him to erupt with even greater power. Celestial Lord Yuanru, who had been under house arrest for 10 years, stared at Chen Hao with an excited expression. Even though he had long believed that Chen Hao had a bright future ahead of him, he had never imagined that in just 10 short years, Chen Hao would appear before him again, an existence who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Of course, this was only in terms of cultivation level. In terms of true battle prowess, Celestial Lord Yuanru knew that he was no match for Chen Hao. Senior brother. Chen Hao stepped in front of Heavenly Venerate Yuanru and gripped his hand tightly. Junior brother, I've implicated you. Junior brother, how can you say that? In these 10 years, senior brother has not suffered at all, only gained. Junior apprentice brother. Senior apprentice brother, let's have a good chat after you win the battle. Empyrean Yuanru said with a solemn expression. He was very touched that Chen Hao would talk to him at this time. Although he had a lot to say, he knew that now was not the time. He also knew that this battle was unavoidable, and Chen Hao's chances of winning were very, very low. He could not distract Chen Hao at this time. And Chen Hao nodded. He abruptly turned around and looked in the direction of the Xiao clan with eyes as sharp as swords. Xiao Yan. This was the first time that Chen Hao had seen Xiao Yan's real body up close. At this moment, Xiao Yan, who had arrived before him, sat down cross-legged with his eyes closed. Facing the roaring cheers, his expression was calm and composed, as if he didn't care about the upcoming battle at all. That was the confidence of the strong, absolute confidence, the confidence that was built on top of powerful strength. Very strong, very strong. Chen Hao thought as he sensed Xiao Yan's aura with his sharp gaze and monstrous senses. In my current state, in terms of absolute strength, I'm probably only at 60% of his. After unsealing myself as a transcendent mortal, I might be able to match him or even surpass him. Chen Hao couldn't be certain. Xiao Yan was the #1 genius of the Xiao clan, and his talent couldn't be much lower than his. Even if Chen Hao was stronger than the other party in terms of absolute strength, it wouldn't be by much. And this was under the assumption that Chen Hao would reach heavenly immortal consummation after unsealing himself as a transcendent mortal. Since we're already here, what are we waiting for? At this moment, the old ancestor of the Xiao clan suddenly spoke up. His voice wasn't loud, but it drowned out the roaring cheers in the air. Everyone could hear his words clearly, following which the crowd fell silent. In the mind of the Poison King Valley Head, Du Jing, Coiled Dragon, Lan Feng, Chen Shui, Chen Nan, Xiao Mei, Huyan Aobua, Hu Meinyang, Bailey Ningbing, and Chen Xiaoqing, who had walked out of Chen Hao's mind, all fell silent. Through their spiritual perception, they stared at Chen Hao anxiously. Standing beside him was a bare-chested old man who was several times taller than an ordinary person. His bell-like eyes were emitting a ferocious aura. He was the head of the Manhuang tribe, the old ancestor of the Coiled Dragon tribe. There were no cultivators in the world of his mind, because he had already chosen to fight side by side with Chen Wuliang without hesitation, and with a sense of righteousness as high as the clouds. Even though he knew that the chances of Chen Wuliang and the old ancestor of the Xiao clan fighting were close to zero, he still had to be prepared. He was only at Jizuan Realm Pinnacle in Hongmeng, but the barbarian god art of the Manhuang tribe's bloodline allowed him to exert the might of a true immortal. Qi. Xiao Yan opened his eyes and took a step forward. He arrived at the high platform at the center of the square, and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at Chen Hao from afar and said calmly, "Killer God Chen Hao, you can come and meet your death now." His calm voice contained absolute confidence and arrogance. The aura around him did not fluctuate at all, which showed his contempt for Chen Hao. It gave people the feeling that Chen Hao could not pique his interest at all. How arrogant! Yes, although Killer God Chen Hao has not reached the full circle of the heavenly immortal realm, how terrifying is his combat strength. His talent is even stronger than Xiao Yan's. Xiao Yan is obviously looking down on him. You are wrong. Xiao Yan may look calm, and there is not even a surge in his fighting spirit. However, don't you realize that he looks even more invulnerable and as steady as a mountain just by standing there? This is definitely not looking down on him. It is just a superficial provocation. If he unleashes his aura right away, he will be at a disadvantage. That makes sense. I feel like Xiao Yan has transformed. He is even stronger than before. How is that possible? Xiao Yan has reached the full circle of the heavenly immortal realm long ago. Unless he triggers the heavenly punishment, it is impossible for him to become stronger. I can feel that he is suppressing his aura now. Once the battle starts and he triggers the heavenly punishment, It will not be against the rules. I find it strange too, but the feeling he gives me is indeed more terrifying. We are very familiar with him, and this feeling is definitely not wrong. I think the Shao clan's patriarch must have taught him some heaven-defying ultimate technique in the past 2 days. This Chen Hao also gives me a very dangerous feeling. He is definitely not inferior to Xiao Yan. A one-sided situation will definitely not happen. Whether it was in the square or outside the square, or the cultivators in the great worlds in the minds of some Grand Mist Supremacy Realm experts, they were all discussing animatedly at this moment. Some cultivators with strong senses and sharp intuition hit the nail on the head, while others only stopped at the superficial phenomenon. However, at this moment, as Xiao Yan's words were filled with contempt and provocation, they all looked at Chen Hao. Clang. Chen Hao, who had always been the most composed, made Chen Shui, Hu Meinyang, Pan Long, Du Jing, and the others frowned slightly at this moment. Chen Hao was different from his usual self. He directly unsheathed his sword and walked with it. He did not fly or teleport, but just walked step by step toward Xiao Yan. With every step he took, the aura on his body soared, and the killing intent between his eyebrows turned into a scarlet flame that burned fiercely. The 5-element sword, which had been modified countless times, let out a sword hum under Chen Hao's aura. The sword aura was cold to the bone. Chapter 904. In the boundless universe, there are no restraints. Come and go freely, free and unrestrained. Everything is empty, neither dirty nor clean, neither increasing nor decreasing, neither being created nor being destroyed. No one knew that Chen Hao was reciting scriptures silently at that moment. Xiao Yan's aura, soul and will. The moment Xiao Yan opened his eyes, Chen Hao knew that he had encountered the strongest opponent in his life. Moreover, Xiao Yan's opponent was at the same level as him. Coupled with the great calamity that he sensed, even Chen Hao could not remain calm. Therefore, he could only put his life on the line and disregard everything else. He had to cast aside everything that could affect his mind and disregard his life and death. In a battle, he had to be undistracted, unburdened, and fearless in the face of death. As Chen Hao moved forward step by step, an indomitable aura swept across the area. His killing intent, battle intent, sword intent, essence, qi, and spirit soared like never before. The pressure that was released caused the cultivators present to be horrified. Whether it was Daoyuo Jingxian, Hongming Supreme, or perfected immortals, of course, most Daoyuo Jingxian were horrified because they could clearly feel that Chen Hao's pressure had a huge impact on them. Even if they were to attack, they would not be a match for Chen Hao. At that moment, Chen Hao was only at the Heaven Immortal stage and had not yet reached the peak. What kind of heaven-defying talent and combat strength did he have to have such a powerful aura? Among these people, there were some Daoyuo Jingxian at the peak of the late stage. What a powerful aura! Is this suicidal behavior that has seen through life and death? Haha! In the face of absolute combat strength, all your potential is in vain. You are like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Xiao Yan said coldly. However, his calm eyes became fierce and cold. Obviously, he was not as indifferent as he said. Chen Hao's indomitable aura made him feel pressured. Set up the sealing enchantment. Each of us will send 10 Hongming Supreme and work together. Chen Wuliang looked at Chen Hao's back, took a deep breath, and said in a low voice, "No problem. Chen Wuliang, let me emphasize again. You are responsible for your own life and death in this battle. If you, me, and that old fart dare to interfere, then don't blame me for being unscrupulous." The Shao clan's patriarch said sternly, "Cut the crap. The 10 of you go." Yes. Chi. Following Chen Wuyang's order, 10 Hongmeng Supreme Martial Artists, who had been prepared beforehand, leaped into the air and occupied half of the void. Almost at the same time, the 10 Hongmeng Supreme Martial Artists of the Shao clan rose into the air. Wang. Buzz! In an instant, 20 Hongmeng Supremes attacked at the same time. Mysterious runes instantly enveloped Chen Hao and Xiao Yan. Absolute space restriction. Unless one of them was dead, Chen Hao and Xiao Yan would not be able to escape even if they wanted to. The 20 Hongmeng Supreme Martial Artists who had set up the restriction were unable to withdraw even if 10 of them wanted to. Only by working together could the seal be undone. This was also a restriction used by the top experts of the vast universe galaxy when they engaged in a life-and-death battle. Of course, if the Shao clan's patriarch and Chen Wuliang wanted to break it open, they would naturally be able to do so. Boom. Within the absolute space restriction. The moment the seal was formed, the heavens and earth suddenly changed. The space that was originally only 10 miles in radius expanded to 10,000 miles in radius in an instant, turning into a huge sealed martial arts arena that was 10,000 miles high and 10,000 miles wide. Outside the seal, the surrounding cultivators could clearly see Chen Hao and Xiao Yan through the mysterious runes. No matter how the two changed their positions, they could not escape the eyes of the crowd. This was also the reason why the seal had been integrated with the divine power law to allow the people outside to see clearly. Qi. Without saying anything, Chen Hao took the lead and thrust his sword forward from 1,000 miles away. A sharp sword hum, sharp killing intent, and majestic true yuan tore through the sky in an instant, like a blood-red rainbow traversing the void. Come. Boom. Xiao Yan's pupils shrank. He opened one of his hands and grasped at the void. The whole space suddenly turned into a void as if the heavens and earth had been sucked into his palm. The heavens and earth are mine, and I am the heavens and earth. The power of the heavens and earth is mine to use. Break. Just as Chen Hao's sword light was about to reach Xiao Yan's fist, which he had been accumulating power for, suddenly blasted out. Boom. The scorching and resplendent light exploded, setting off stormy waves. The terrifying energy fluctuations caused all the spectators to widen their eyes. It was just a tentative first move, but the intensity was beyond everyone's expectations. How terrifying would the real battle be? When faced with the terrifying energy explosion, the god of slaughter Chen Hao's body paused for a moment before he charged forward at high speed once more, and he ceaselessly struck with his sword. Every sword strike contained the light of profound talisman markings, and it exceeded the scope of understanding of an expert at the heavenly immortal realm. It was obviously firm and yang in nature, yet his sword chi was ever-changing, and various sword insights flowed out perfectly like 1,000 waves that overlapped each other. The terrifying slaughter sword insight was the tip of the sword as it cut through all obstacles. So strong. God of slaughter Chen Hao. Looks like we've underestimated his combat strength. To think that he is so monstrous. Every sword contains many Tao laws, one sword of each kind. If he were to simply release any one sword, it wouldn't be shocking. However, he can continuously release them and merge them into a flawless state of perfection. How high does his comprehension of Tao laws have to be able to do this? Heaven immortal. I'm afraid that even Dao Yuo Jinxian's consummate realm can't do this. Even boss. Ha. Just when Xiao Yan's loyal followers saw Chen Hao continuously releasing sword techniques like a river after a sword strike, and were discussing in shock and astonishment, Xiao Yan, who was still standing proudly, had a hint of arrogance on the corner of his mouth. He suddenly punched out continuously, and in an instant, there were layers upon layers of fist shadows. What was even more surprising was that every single one of his punches seemed to correspond to every single one of Chen Hao's sword strikes. Even the Tao law, strength, and fist intent contained within all corresponded to Chen Hao's. Moreover, in terms of absolute strength, they were all slightly stronger than Chen Hao's, no more no less. This. Could it be that Boss Xiao has been hiding his true strength? Or is it because the Xiao clan's ancestor helped him improve in these 2 days? Too powerful. The god of slaughter Chen Hao's peerless sharpness just made everyone stare in shock. Then, they were drowned by Xiao Yan's exquisite combat skills and powerful strength. The cultivators who came out of the primitive secret area became extremely nervous at this moment. Whether they had joined Aotian, been saved by Aotian, or were not related to him, as long as they were not enemies in their hearts, God of Slaughter Chen Hao had quietly become the spiritual leader that they worshipped. After returning together, these people hoped to see the legend that God of Slaughter Chen Hao created continue to be undefeatable. And the stronger, the better. This would make them even more proud in the future. Chapter 905. But now Xiao Yan, who was as steady as a mountain, was like an immovable mountain, causing Chen Hao, who had taken the initiative to attack and was filled with a boundless aura of slaughter as if he was going to go all out. To become even more unconfident, Chen Shui, Helian Wuxi, Hu Meinyang, and Long Ting, the four people who belonged to the highest ranks in terms of talent and comprehension among Chen Hao's friends and family, all clenched their fists and frowned. They also could not understand why Chen Hao had lost his usual calmness in the face of a life-and-death crisis. Facing an existence whose absolute power completely surpassed his, Chen Hao's actions, although he had displayed superb combat skills and comprehension of Dao laws, in front of Xiao Yan, who was stronger than him in all aspects, it was unwise. Instead, it became a useless display of fancy moves. It was fine if he did not move, but when he did move, it would be earth-shattering. This was the tactic that Chen Hao should have used. How could this be? Du Jing suddenly asked himself. Among the crowd, Du Jing, the merciless killer, had always been known to be sinister and cunning, or rather, resourceful and resourceful. That's not right. Du Jing was just muttering to himself, but in the next moment, Du Jing, Chen Shui, and Hu Meinyang all said in unison, "Boss is doing it on purpose. He wants to unseal his mortal state." Yes, that's how it should be. In such a situation, even if Xiao Yan didn't underestimate Chen Hao, he wouldn't waste his strength in a situation where he had absolute confidence in himself. In such a situation, putting himself in a life-or-death situation is definitely much better than Xiao Yan directly dealing a fatal blow. The leeway for him to maneuver is also much greater. I told you, he shouldn't be like this. Hu Meinyang's tightly knitted eyebrows relaxed a little. Chen Shui and the others also nodded slightly. Boom 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 boom. It took a long time to describe, but in fact it all happened in an instant. At this moment, within the absolute space restriction, the area within a radius of 10,000 miles had become a scene of continuous explosions. Sword light and fist shadows continuously collided together, tearing the void apart like pitch-black ribbons of light, opening and closing, appearing and disappearing continuously. At the moment of opening and closing, endless chaotic energy was absorbed by Chen Hao and Xiao Yan from the chaotic space. Everyone was certain that if not for the boundary of the chaotic space being sealed, the entire martial arts practice field would have been swallowed by the chaotic space. Even so, the two of them could still absorb the chaotic energy and star fragments from within, and turn them into their own terrifying attacks. In reality, Chen Hao, who had initiated the initiative, was now completely suppressed by Xiao Yan. Every time Xiao Yan punched out, his figure would approach a little bit closer, whereas every time Chen Hao struck out with his sword, he would be forced back a little bit, and it became a chase and retreat sweeping through the martial arts practice field within a radius of 10,000 miles. Everywhere they passed, star fragments whistled and exploded, gravel raged, and dust surged. No matter if it was in terms of strength or the utilization of the divine ability laws, Chen Hao was completely at a disadvantage. Of course, the main reason was the restriction of absolute strength. But, even if Chen Hao was forced back, he didn't have the slightest intention of escaping, and he retreated in an extremely steady manner, forcefully resisting every move he made. Most people had already started to feel pity for Chen Hao because someone with such terrifying natural talent had surely been forced to come this far. Especially when they thought of the situation where Xiao Yan was still at the perfection stage of the heavenly immortal realm, and could draw down the heavenly tribulation to step into the Daluo Jingxian at any time. Even though Chen Hao was still persisting, the outcome was already clear, unless a miracle occurred. But how could there be so many miracles in the world? Chen Hao's valiant, courageous, and unevasive way of fighting had already explained everything. Without hesitation, he pressed forward courageously. Even he himself knew what the outcome would be, right? That was why he chose such a straightforward way to avoid being trampled on. Boom! Suddenly, Chen Hao, who had been stubbornly retreating and had never chosen to evade, suddenly retreated 1,000 miles. What? You can't hold back anymore? Xiao Yan said proudly. He allowed Chen Hao to retreat and didn't pursue him. I thought you were very strong, but it turns out that you're just SOO. Chen Hao finally spoke. His cold voice, bright and sharp eyes, and the killing intent that bloomed from between his eyebrows. Even though he was completely at a disadvantage, at this moment, he still emitted a breathtaking pressure. His long hair fluttered in the wind, his Taoist robe fluttered in the wind, his extraordinarily handsome face, and the sword light that swallowed and spat out was still as bright as the stars. Ah, is that so? It's easy for me to kill you. Unfortunately, now is not the time. Use your ultimate move. I, Xiaoyan, will do my best to satisfy you. Unseal the transcendent mortal. I also hope that you can advance to the great perfection transcendent mortal after unsealing. Otherwise it would be a pity. To everyone's surprise, Xiaoyan actually said that. Buzz. The experts in the entire training ground, including the mind of the supreme Hongmeng, were in an uproar. Transcendent mortal. Transcendent mortal. God of Slaughter Chun Hao was actually in the transcendent mortal state. This news was simply explosive. At the same time, it was like a cardiac stimulant, causing the cultivators who supported Chun Hao to become excited. Chen Wuliang and the others frowned. They did not expect the Xiao clan's patriarch to have discovered something. As expected, you know. Chen Hao narrowed his eyes, and his aura changed instantly. The corners of his mouth curled up into his signature smile as he said, Xiao clan's ancestor. It's been billions of years. I originally thought that you would at least be a little senile, but I didn't expect you to be so shrewd. I can't hide anything from you. You dare to insult my patriarch? You're your own patriarch? How interesting. Don't act so angry. Whether you admit it or not, I can confirm that you are the Xiao clan's patriarch's 10th life. Haha, even if I, Chen Hao, die, it will be worth it. To die in the hands of an old man who has stood tall in the vast universe galaxy for billions of years. Ha ha ha. Crash. Before everyone could recover from the shock of Xiaoyan's words, Chen Hao released an even more explosive piece of news. The Xiao clan's patriarch's 10th life. What kind of concept was that? This time, even the Xiao clan members were dumbfounded. They could not help but look at the Xiao clan's patriarch beside them. However, the Xiao clan's patriarch did not look angry at all. Instead, he looked at Chen Hao in the training ground with interest. It was hard to guess. Impudent. I, Xiaoyan, am a direct descendant of the Xiao clan. Even if the patriarch has a 10th life, how can you be worthy of his attack? I, Xiaoyan, am enough. Die. Boom. The Xiao clan patriarch, who had victory in his grasp, originally wanted to use Chen Hao, a rare opponent, to temper himself for the 10th anima. But what he didn't expect was that Chen Hao had actually guessed his background. Of course, he knew that this was definitely Chen Wuliang and Yi Lan's judgment. But that wasn't important, because they didn't have any proof. As long as he did not admit it, the battle would continue, and no one would be able to stop it. However, Chen Hao had actually said it in front of everyone. This made him angry, and he directly raised his strength to the peak. Chapter 906. Qi. Qi. With Xiaoyan's unscrupulous power, the tremendous spirit, qi, and soul bloomed completely. Like a straight line of smoke, they shot up to the sky. Even the absolute space restriction couldn't stop the mysterious spirit, qi and soul. It directly tore the sky. Qi, 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 qi. The heaven and earth energy instantly surged like a storm, spreading in all directions at an astonishing speed. 100,000 kilometers, 1 million kilometers, 10 million kilometers, 20 million kilometers. The heavenly punishment had just been condensed, but the strength of the pressure wave had already shocked 9,999% of the cultivators present, especially those who had experienced the heavenly punishment from fairy immortals to almighty immortals. They could only admire it. The pressure wave that they triggered at that time was probably less than 1% of the heavenly punishment's power. Qi, 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 qi. How strong would such a person be when he stepped into the Daoyuo Jingxian? Putting aside the fact that Xiaoyan had used all his strength to trigger the heavenly punishment, a 9-storied pagoda appeared behind him as he punched out. It was surrounded by lightning and spun at a high speed, as if it had turned into a whirlpool of lightning that provided unparalleled power to his punch. Boom. With this punch, the sonic boom was like a tsunami, shaking the 9 heavens. The surging fist force tore through the sky, and the sharp rumbling caused the experts outside the absolute space to feel their scalps tingle. Countless divine ability law runes interweaved within the fist light, shaking the entire world. All the experts present widened their eyes in shock as they stared at Xiao Yan, whose expression was cold and whose hair and beard were fluttering. Their minds were greatly shaken. Chi, 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 chi. Chen Hao exhaled as he spoke, and it was like a thunderclap had exploded out. At this moment, his handsome face was piercingly cold to the bone while boundless Dao laws surged violently around him, and the Baihui sword above him instantly emanated dazzling and crystalline green light. At this moment, powerful and vast vitality suddenly stretched out in the heavens and the earth, and the Dao manifestation immortal fruit tree appeared. The thick and translucent branches and leaves seemed to connect to the 9 heavens and 10 earths in an instant. They absorbed the energy of heaven and earth, growing as the wind blew. On the other hand, Chen Hao's body expanded madly along with the growth of the Dao manifestation immortal fruit tree. In an instant, he was like a true god of death that had descended and looked down upon the world with disdain. Qi, 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 qi. Chen Hao, qi, qi. The heavens and the earth shook violently, the 5 elements circulated, and the world was overturned. Accompanied by Chen Hao's all-conquering conviction, his resolution to be fearless of life and death, and his great boldness that looked down upon the world, all of this poured into this sword strike. At this moment, the sound of the Dao rumbled and the world shook. Qi, 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 qi. Rumble. Chen Hao and Xiao Yan's strongest collision since the start of the battle had begun. Fist shadows and sword lights collided, and the heavenly phenomenon that had just formed in the 9 heavens nearly collapsed. The absolute space barrier formed by the 20 Grand Mist Venerables shook violently, and cracks even appeared at the core of the barrier. Even though the cracks disappeared in an instant, it was enough to send chills down the spines of the Grand Mist Venerables' spines. Qi, qi, qi. Xiao Yan roared furiously. Even he didn't expect that Chen Hao would be able to execute such a powerful strike in his mortal form. Thus, without any hesitation, he followed up with an even more ferocious punch. At the same time, he charged towards Chen Hao at lightning speed. Qi, qi. Chen Hao's enormous figure, which resembled a deity descending from the heavens, let out a roar. The giant elemental sword in his hand instantly swung wildly, emitting a sword glow. Xiao Yan's entire body radiated a crystalline light. The 9-story pagoda merged with his body. Every inch of his skin and every strand of his hair exuded an aura that soared into the heavens. His fist was so close that it could dominate the heavens and earth. It carried an indomitable aura that soared into the 9 heavens. Boom. The two of them finally collided, shaking the heavens and shaking the earth. An expanse of dazzling rain of light erupted, and soon after, it became the core of the storm that swallowed everything in all directions. A rain of blood fell from the void. Every drop of blood essence, even in the midst of a terrifying explosion of energy, was sparkling and translucent, immortal and indestructible. Qi, 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 qi. At this moment, Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, Shui Mei, the girls and their brothers and sisters all clenched their fists in excitement. Qi, 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 qi. It would be a tragedy if Chen Hao, who had broken through the transcendent mortal realm, was unable to reach grand immortal realm consummation. No matter how powerful Chen Hao was, it would be impossible for him to stand against Xiao Yan, who had reached grand immortal realm after triggering the heaven's wrath. This was because the heavenly punishment had already been triggered, but the heavenly punishment had yet to begin. Xiao Yan, who had yet to ascend to the grand heavenly realm, had definitely unleashed his strongest attack just now. However, he was unable to exceed his limits and directly destroy Chen Hao. In addition, this strike caused Xiao Yan's body to be filled with sword scars that contain the power of immortality and destruction. The destruction power caused his body to be destroyed unceasingly, and the immortality power made it extremely difficult for him to recover. What did this mean? God of Slaughter Chen Hao, although he was not in the great circle of the heavenly immortal stage, he was actually able to fight Xiao Yan, who was in the great circle of the heavenly immortal stage, and even the Xiao clan patriarch, who was in the 10th anima, who could compare to Qi. Chapter 907. Great Five Elements Art. Xiao Yan's pupils constricted. After stopping the sword wounds on his body, he spat out these words through his blood-stained teeth. He glared fiercely at Chen Hao, who had broken through the transcendent mortal restriction and seemed to be transforming. Great Five Elements Art. Good. Very good. At the corner of the square, a hunched figure was hidden in the crowd. Even the experts around him didn't notice his existence. At this moment, his turbid eyes were emitting two rays of excitement. This person was naturally Yilan, who had come secretly. All the onlookers, including Chen Wuyang and the experts of the hidden sects, weren't as shocked as Yilan, Xiao Yan, or the Xiao clan's old ancestor. Previously, in the primitive secret realm, they had heard of Chen Hao using the Great Five Elements art to fight against the Zerg Queen Morichis. They had even seen the records from the token. However, because they weren't there, they couldn't really sense the mysteries behind it. At this moment, the two of them were shocked to find that the mysterious aura released by Chen Hao's Great Five Elements art was extremely similar to that of the Five Elements ancestor, who left a legend in the vast universe galaxy when the Divine Dragon appeared back then. Back then, only a few people knew that the Five Elements ancestor had fought with Yilan and the Xiao clan's old ancestor. As for the result, no one knew. However, Yilan and the Xiao clan's old ancestor knew about each other's situation. At the same time, they also knew the real reason why the Five Elements ancestor left. He was originally a passerby, and no one could defeat him. He was as lonely as snow, and the ancient chaos universe was just a relay station for him. Naturally, he would leave. Could it be that this kid is related to him? Xiao Yan, the Xiao clan's old ancestor, thought quickly, and his face became more and more gloomy. Thinking of the Five Elements ancestor, even though he had left this world for billions of years, the Xiao clan's old ancestor still didn't have the confidence to fight against him. He couldn't be sure if such a terrifying figure was still alive, and where he had traveled to. However, Yilan was much calmer. Firstly, he knew that Chen Hao had nothing to do with the Five Elements ancestor. Secondly, even if they were related, wouldn't it be better? Wang Qi, having achieved a breakthrough to transcendent mortal, and fused with his Tao body, a majestic, pure, and fearsome surge of energy gushed out from Chen Hao's head. In an instant, as though the Milky Way that connected the 9 heavens and the 10 earths, it tore through the firmament and headed straight for the vast galaxy. Great perfection. God of Slaughter Chen Hao has also reached the consummate level. Haha. So powerful. Too strong. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. In the same realm, no one can defeat him. Boss Hao. All the cultivators who supported Chen Hao and Chen Hao's friends and family were truly excited at this moment. The Xiao family, their loyal supporters, and Xiao Yan's supporters were all horrified at this moment. Their absolute advantage was destined to vanish. The two of them, one at the front and one at the back, had actually only been separated by a single move. Now that both of them had triggered the heavenly punishment, what would happen next? These two people could be called the peak geniuses of vast universe galaxy, and even the boundless universe of ancient chaos. If they were to trigger heavenly retribution at the same time and superimpose upon each other, just how terrifying would that be? You are very strong, but it's a pity that you will die today. Roar. After a brief moment of shock, a rainbow-colored light flashed around Xiao Yan's body. In an instant, his entire body was covered in a golden armor made of dragon scales. He was armed to the teeth, and a pair of gloves covered in spikes appeared on his fists. Boom. Accompanied by a roar that could shatter mountains and rivers, Xiao Yan's body moved along with his fist punching out. In an instant, an earth-shattering fist energy that could swallow the heavens rushed towards Chen Hao from all directions. Endless runes and terrifying energy transformed into 7 colored waves that blotted out the skies and blocked out the sun. At this moment, Xiao Yan finally got serious. He used all of his saint-tier armor and weapons. God of Slaughter Chen Hao had already made him feel pressured. Thus, he couldn't afford to be careless anymore. Right now, he had to kill the other party as soon as possible. Competing with your artifacts? Condense. At the moment when Xiaoyan took out his armor and gloves, Chen Hao's body also emitted a dazzling light. Streaks of mysterious ancient aura instantly bloomed from Chen Hao's body. At the same time, the 5 elements sword suddenly turned into 5 streaks of elemental light and disappeared into the void. What replaced it was a golden spear. Although everyone was slightly surprised when they saw that the 5 elements sword didn't disappear into Chen Hao's glabella, but was shattered into pieces, they didn't think too much about it. They were stunned by the domineering figure of Chen Hao holding the spear. Especially those who had seen Chen Hao kill 10 people in a single step, the god of slaughter's image of the god of slaughter, who roared excitedly. God of slaughter Chen Hao. The dominating god of slaughter Chen Hao had returned. Break. The spear pierced forward, carrying with it a destructive force and pressure. It collided with Xiaoyan's hedgehog-like fists. Boom. Rumble. There was an earth-shattering sound as the endless Tao laws collapsed. Kacha. Boom. Boom. Just as everyone widened their eyes, waiting to see the result of this collision, something strange happened. Ah. What's going on? Countless people cried out in alarm. At the same time, in the square, most of the Daluo Jingxian were the first to be unable to withstand the pressure. They frantically activated their protective qi and frantically retreated. Some of the Daluo Jingxian peak experts and Hongming Supremes who were barely able to withstand the pressure looked at the void in horror. Tribulation clouds. Chen Hao's tribulation clouds and Xiaoyan's tribulation clouds had already absorbed an endless amount of heaven and earth energy, but they should still need some time to form the first heavenly punishment. But now, in the middle of the 2 tribulation clouds, endless lightning suddenly shot out of the void. In an instant, within the absolute space restriction, Chen Hao and Xiaoyan's surroundings turned into an endless purgatory of lightning. A sea of lightning snakes wreaked havoc and wildly spread in all directions. In the void, the 2 tribulation clouds in the void gathered together at lightning speed. Endless pressure, as if an ancient true immortal had descended, pressed down on everyone until they could not breathe. In an instant, all the Daluo Jingxian Supremes had retreated. Hongming Supremes also began to frantically retreat. At this time, Chen Hao and Xiaoyan were no longer able to continue fighting. They were aghast as they withstood the terrifying pressure and endless lightning that suddenly burst out. In just 2 minutes, there were less than 100 people left in the huge square. Chen Wuliang Hanmei Shuemei, the leader of the Manhuang tribe, the valley master of the Poison King Valley, some of the top experts on Chen Wuliang's side, the patriarch of the Xiao clan, and the 11 true immortals of the Xiao clan were also left. Golden Scale Dragon Transformation. Suddenly, in the corner of the square, the hunchbacked old man who had become prominent because many cultivators had retreated or even fled out of the square, stared at the 2 tribulation clouds that were rapidly converging in the void with an excited expression and muttered, "Golden Scale Dragon Transformation." Almost at the same time, the patriarch of the Xiao clan also said the same 6 words. Chapter 908. Golden Scale Dragon Transformation. Chen Wuliang clenched his fists thoughtfully. You've finally appeared. Haha, you old fart, you've come out, so why can't I appear? Ha 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 ha. Nirvana has reached a critical moment. Is it worth it to waste thousands of years? And even lose your last hope to come out? Did you see that? Golden Scale Dragon Transformation. This is a Golden Scale Dragon Transformation that hasn't appeared in hundreds of millions of years. Chen Hao is dead meat. That's not necessarily true. Who is the Golden Scale? Who can transform into a dragon? Before the results are out, it's all unknown. How can Xiaoyan compare to Chen Hao? Oh, it should be said that you're the 10th life that hasn't matured yet. That's great. I didn't expect such a fair choice to appear. At least your dignity has been saved, right? You're already so old. Yet you're bullying a junior. You're talking nonsense. What's the Golden Scale Dragon Transformation? At this moment, countless cultivators were puzzled and asked the experts for advice. Chen Shui and the others also asked the Poison King Valley Master. Golden scales transforming into dragons is just a metaphor. However, All the cultivators who can trigger this virtual image are all outstanding geniuses. As long as they don't die prematurely, they can become a top expert in the universe in the future. However, although it's rare in the vast universe galaxy, it's still quite common. There should be many among you who have triggered it. However, the golden scale dragon transformation hasn't appeared in hundreds of millions of years. Even controller Chen Wuliang, Shao clan ancestor, and controller Yilan haven't triggered it. From what I've heard, the only one who triggered it was the #1 genius girl in the vast universe galaxy, Yi Xian. When she was advancing to Daoyuo Jingxian, she triggered it. This means that the power of the heavenly immortal realm she possessed at that time had already surpassed the restriction of the laws of the universe on that realm. Ah, Master, does that mean that boss has also reached that level? It's hard to say. Look, aren't Senior Yi and Shao clan ancestor arguing? Perhaps the fusion of their heavenly punishments has reached such a degree. Or perhaps one of them was able to trigger it, or perhaps both were able to trigger it. Once the heavenly punishment of the golden scale dragon transformation appears, if it succeeds then one will obtain an unimaginable increase, but if it fails then one's body and soul will be destroyed. In short, all we can do now is resign ourselves to fate. The Poison King Valley Master's words caused everyone to become even more nervous. Chi. Kacha. As the two tribulation clouds merged into one, all of the cultivators of East Flow City, no matter where they were, looked up at the tribulation clouds in the void, tens of millions of miles in diameter, as if a path to the heavens had been opened from the highest heavens. Everyone could clearly see the majestic immortal palaces within the disk, the ancient god beasts azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, black tortoise, Kirin, phoenix, immortal crane, dragon horse, a true immortal that looked down upon all living beings with disdain. Although all of these were phantoms evolved from thunder, the pressure they released caused countless cultivators to prostrate themselves on the ground in worship. Bang! Roar. Roaring thunder finally poured down, like the cries of 10,000 immortals and the cries of 100 million beasts. 1,000-mile-wide teardrop of light, carrying with it the true might of the heavens, howled down as if it would destroy the world. At this moment, besides Chun Hao and a few other masters, no one could see the figures of Chun Hao and Xiao Yan. Seal. The 20 Hongmeng Supreme Masters that had laid down the absolute space restriction all moved at the same time. With a point of their fingers, the light of countless stars shined in the highest heavens, completely isolating the massive square from East Flow City. Rumble. Even so, the earth and mountains within a radius of millions of miles were still shaking and cracking. How was this still the heavenly punishment of a heavenly immortal ascending to grand heavenly immortal? Even an ordinary grand heavenly immortal ascending to Hongmeng Supreme wouldn't have such power. Such a heavenly punishment should not be carried out in the vast thousand domains. Fortunately, there were countless top masters of the vast universe galaxy gathered here, and they were in the Alliance Square, which had the strongest restrictions. Otherwise, all ordinary life within a radius of millions of miles would have been annihilated. Heavenly punishment after heavenly punishment came crashing down. The world was already submerged in dazzling thunder. In one's ears, there was only the endless sound of terrifying explosions. This continued for 4 hours before the endless tribulation clouds finally stopped. The pressure weakened and the sound became quiet, until it was completely silent. A total of 9 layers. But, on this day no one saw what the final result was. They only saw the Shao family old ancestor seem to have aged countless times in an instant. He brought the Shao family members away, and Xiao Yan's figure was nowhere to be seen. At the same time, they also saw Chen Wuliang bring Han Mei, Shui Mei, and many other young men and women with tears in their eyes and sorrowful expressions as they left. All of this indicated that this battle had shaken the entire vast universe galaxy. The two peak geniuses of the vast universe galaxy seemed to have perished in the final layer of heavenly punishment. Fusing together with the heavenly punishment, this heavenly punishment that hadn't appeared in 1 trillion years, the heavenly punishment of golden scales transforming into dragons had ended the young lives of these two monstrous geniuses, regardless of whether it was the god of slaughter Chen Hao, who had risen to prominence in a few short years, or Xiao Yan, who had already made a name for himself 1,000 years ago, or the Xiao clan's ancestor who did not admit it but was believed by many to be the Xiao clan's ancestor's 10th life. All of them made countless people shake their wrists and sigh. After this battle, the miracles and glory that death god Chen Hao had created in his short life were unknown. Whether it was under the control of someone, or because death god Chen Hao's influence in the primal mystic realm was too great, it had evolved into countless young cultivators taking death god Chen Hao as their idol, their legend, their goal. Similarly, after this battle, the Manhuang tribe announced their return. Many hidden sects seemed to be unable to bear the loneliness, and quickly followed in the footsteps of the Manhuang tribe, and announced their return. News after news shook the vast universe galaxy, causing it to be shrouded in a layer of tension and pressure. But this was a matter of the upper echelons. For the young cultivators, the most sensational news was the official establishment of Proud Heavens. Proud Heavens was not an army, not a guardian group, not a sect, not a family. It was an existence similar to an alliance, the Proud Heavens Association. With the support of Chen Wuliang, Poison King Valley, Misty Rain House, Lifeless Sect, Lan Family, and countless other top experts in large sects, the highest level approval of the vast universe Divine Temple and the Alliance, and the full support of the terrifying Manhuang tribe. Although the Proud Heavens Association only had heavenly immortal experts as the upper echelons of the young cultivators, the commotion and fame it caused was not something that any other sect of the same level could compare to. In particular, its members included many geniuses from the Divine Temple and the Alliance's elite guardians, allowing the Proud Heavens Association to gather many of the top geniuses of the vast universe galaxy. Hu Mainyang, the saintess of the Misty Rain House, the most talented direct descendant of the Manhuang tribe's leader, Coiling Dragon, the successor of the Poison King Valley's Valley Master, Du Jing, the first genius of the Lan family and the son of Destiny, Lan Feng. Chen Ling and Li Yang, who came from the primitive mystic realm and had immeasurable talent and potential, were also Chen Wuliang's goddaughters and godsons, as well as Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Long Ting, Tan Tai Lian, Xia Yuyu, the sisters, and Bailey Ningbing. There were also more than 1,000 young geniuses from the primitive mystic realm, who had become the leaders of the outer circle of Proud Heavens. Chapter 909. What kind of gathering was that? Although a Hongmeng Supreme could destroy the Proud Heavens Association, no one dared to do so. This was a very weak new force in the world, but it was definitely a force that could do whatever it wanted. And the president of the association, to everyone's surprise, was actually Chen Hao, the killing god. In the eyes of the cultivators, the members of the Proud Heavens Association were commemorating the fallen killing god Chen Hao. This was also understandable. After all, Chen Hao's influence was too great, and he was the founder of the Proud Heavens Association. With him as the honorary president, it was undoubtedly better to gather luck and connections. Moreover, the tokens of all the members of the Proud Heavens Association were engraved with Chen Hao's portrait. This made Chen Hao's reputation in the vast universe galaxy, which should have cooled down after he died, rise instead. The Xiao clan's ancestor and some experts vaguely realized that the establishment of the Proud Heavens Association was not as simple as it seemed on the surface, especially the worship of Chen Hao as the spiritual leader, which was even more complicated. It seemed to point to the method of Yi Lan's nirvana, to gather the power of faith. Moreover, the topic of Chen Hao, the killing god, had always been manipulated behind the scenes, which was even more obvious. But now, whether it was the Xiao clan's ancestor or the experts of the Xiao clan, they could only bide their time. The Xiao clan's ancestor even announced to the Xiao clan that he would go into a deep level of seclusion again. Master won't die. He told you that this was his great tribulation. Look, I'm fine, aren't I? Xiaoji said with a child's voice full of emotion before leaving, with tears flowing down its face. We are Master's contracted divine beasts, aren't we also fine? Master's life source and soul imprint naturally exist. The 5 divine beasts and Itoda said their last words. No one knew that on the night of the final battle, Chen Hao's first intelligent brain aircraft, Small Wisdom No. 1, shed crystal tears. Only a real life could shed tears. Carrying Atoda and the 5 mythological beasts, who had not shown up since their return, Small Wisdom number 1 decisively refused to follow the girls and the brothers and sisters and stepped into the chaotic space. Vague and indistinct, there is an image in it. Vague and indistinct, there is something in it. Indistinct and indistinct, there is essence in it. Auspicious chi spread for 84,000 miles, and immortal light shone resplendently. Over 100 cultivators stared blankly at the talking stone that was surrounded by endless immortal light. What profound words. It seems like a profound mantra, but it doesn't really seem like it. No, this is Tao sound. It's a Tao sound that we can't comprehend at all. I don't think it's bright, but I think it's powerful. I can conclude that this is the fate of the devil abyss. Nonsense. Do I need you to tell me that? With our combined efforts, we have already reached the deepest part of the devil abyss. Other than this strange stone, there is nothing else. What else could it be? Let's take advantage of the fact that it has just been born and quickly think of a way. Only the strong can obtain it. There is only one immortal serendipity, and there are 112 of us. My suggestion is that whoever breaks this restriction first will get the immortal serendipity. What do you think? Zhao Guiyu, you really have a good plan. Who doesn't know that you have already inherited the teachings of the number 1 talisman Tao Master, Zhang Hingyuan? Aren't you embarrassed to use your expertise in breaking restrictions as a competition? Li Mubai, then how do you propose we determine who will get the immortal serendipity? Let's have a showdown? I'm happy to oblige. You. Don't forget the agreement we made before we came in. Immortal serendipity, those who are fated will know. It's still too early to talk about who will get the immortal serendipity. Everyone, don't you think so? Li Mubai looked at the other cultivators and said. That's right. Auspicious chi spread for 84,000 miles, and immortal light shone everywhere. This is definitely an immortal serendipity. Any competition would be a blasphemy to the immortal serendipity. Li Mubai's words immediately received the support of the majority of the cultivators. There was no doubt that Zhao Guiyu would get the immortal serendipity by breaking the restriction. If they competed based on combat strength, Zhao Guiyu, Li Mubai, and the other 3 strongest cultivators who had not spoken yet had a high chance. However, they had no hope at all. Therefore, Li Mubai's question naturally received the support of the majority of the cultivators. At this moment, the immortal light emitted by the talking stone suddenly became thousands of times brighter. For a moment, all the cultivators present were temporarily blinded. At this moment, the talking stone suddenly turned into a streamer and tore the void apart. Go after it. Chi. Everyone present was the top genius of the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland in the chaotic universe. They had spent a Herculean effort and risked their lives to break into the deepest part of the demonic abyss and catch a glimpse of the immortal serendipity. How could they let the immortal serendipity escape? In an instant, no one argued. They tore the void apart and chased after it. Lock it. It's so fast. Great tracking seal. We can't let it escape. Go. Chi. One after another, tiny aircrafts engraved with mysterious runes appeared and began to compete with each other in the vast chaotic space. Everything comes from the origin. Everything is perceived by wisdom. Reaching is through ignorance. Knowing one's enemy is like an empty flower. When one is awake, one can't get it. Those who are awake are like the void. There is no place for all illusions to vanish, and there is no place to attain Tao. All living beings and all kinds of illusions are born from the Tathagata's perfect mind. It is like the emptiness that comes from the void. Although the illusions vanish, the emptiness is not destroyed. The illusions of all living beings vanish in accordance with the illusions. When all illusions vanish, the mind remains unmoved. To the extreme of emptiness, to keep quietness. Everything works together. I observe and recover. All things return to their roots. Returning to their roots is quietness. Quietness is returning to one's destiny. Returning to one's destiny is everlasting. In a daze there are images. In a daze there are things. In a daze there are things. In a daze there are spirits. In the vast starry river, a wisp of immortal light traversed through layers of spatial storms at a speed thousands of times faster than the speed of light. Not only did it show no signs of stopping, but its speed was also increasing continuously. No one heard it. Within this wisp of immortal light, there was a faint sound of Sanskrit chanting of the great Tao. It contained the supreme scriptures of Buddhism and the essentials of the general principles of Taoism. Although it was so weak that it was almost inaudible, it continued on for a long time. After an unknown period of time, this wisp of immortal light finally broke through the spatial barrier and entered a greater thousand world before disappearing. In a daze there are images. In a daze there are things. 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 This is clearly from my Tao Te Ching. What a pity. He is so handsome, so he must be the son of a super-rich family or an official. I can't believe he has contracted such a strange disease. Skyriver Sector, Longhua Sanatorium, Longhua Planet, Skyriver Sector. Inside the intensive care unit, a young nurse with big eyes and fair skin was leaning forward and putting her ear to the ear of a special patient who was lying on the bed. After hearing the patient's almost inaudible voice, the young nurse murmured to herself with a suspicious look on her face. Chapter 9-10. This was the first patient she had received after becoming the top nurse on Longhua Planet. She had gone through a lot of screening before she was qualified to take care of this special patient. Being able to work on the Longhua recovery battleship was undoubtedly an honor and a guarantee of safety. This was because Longhua recovery battleship was actually one of the top battleships on Longhua Planet. It could defend, counterattack, and escape any danger at any time. All information about the patient was confidential. What she knew was only name, gender, age, height, weight, and medical history. Everything else was blank. His name was Chun Hao. His gender was obvious when she lifted the blanket. He was 18 years old and 1.82 meters tall, the standard height for a man on Longhua Planet. He wasn't short, but he wasn't tall either. He was 18 years old and had room for improvement. As for his weight, when the nurse saw the information, she immediately pointed it out as a mistake. However, she was told that it was 386 pounds. At that time, the nurse thought that the handsome man in the information must be an old photo. He must be a super fat man now. At that time, she felt a little unlucky and depressed, thinking that she had been tricked by her cousin. Although she was a nurse, as a personal nurse, she naturally preferred to serve a handsome man rather than a nearly 400-pound fatty. However, she didn't expect the image to be real. He looked like he weighed at most 150 pounds, but he really was 400 pounds. His muscles weren't developed either. How could he be so heavy? This was a question that the nurse couldn't understand. However, what puzzled the nurse even more was the mysterious handsome man's medical history. 3 years of pregnancy, the first strange thing. After being born, he didn't cry, make a fuss, or open his eyes. To be exact, he never woke up. If it weren't for the fact that he still had signs of life and the 3 years of pregnancy, he would have been abandoned as a dead baby. The second strange thing. They went to all the famous hospitals on Longhua Planet and couldn't find any cause of illness. On the contrary, the baby's internal organs were much stronger than normal people's. The third strange thing. When the patient was 1 year old, the family heard the baby's slightly moving lips as if he was saying something, but no one could hear it clearly. Moreover, it didn't stop for a moment. 10 years ago, when the Skyriver sector was in chaos, Chun Hao was admitted to the best intensive care unit on Longhua Planet, the Longhua recovery battleship that normal people couldn't enter at all. There had been a few batches of nurses there. Emptiness is not different from form, form is not different from emptiness. Ah, Buddhist scriptures again? What the hell is going on? The nurse was stunned. As an outstanding graduate of Longhua Planet's top special nursing school, the young nurse had undergone strict training. Not only was she proficient in medical knowledge, but she had also received systematic learning in many fields such as astronomy, geography, ancient and modern history, the 100 schools of thought, religious beliefs, and many other fields. Her goal was very simple. Not only did she have to take good care of the patients in daily life, she also had to satisfy the patient's needs mentally. He didn't dare to say that he was proficient in everything, but when it came to talking about anything, he could speak clearly and logically. The scriptures of Buddhism and Taoism were obtained by the starship of the Dragon Radiant Star 1 by chance 5,000 years ago. They were regarded as spiritual cultivation scriptures by the upper echelons of the Skyriver sector. Even though there hadn't been any breakthroughs, there were many researchers and enthusiasts on Longhua Planet. Especially for some of the big shots, it was a good way to pass the time. Naturally, this became a compulsory subject for the special care staff, because many of the special patients they received were important figures and old pedants. It could even be used to chat with patients. How could a person who had never woken up from birth know the Tao Te Ching of the extraterrestrial Laozi? How could he know Buddhist scriptures? No. According to the medical records, he only opened and closed his mouth. No one could hear what he was saying clearly. How could I hear it? It must be an illusion. The nurse patted her hot breasts and muttered to herself. Color is emptiness, emptiness is color. The emptiness of all dharmas is not born, not destroyed, not polluted, not pure, not increasing, not decreasing, so there is no color in the air. There is no world of vision and no realm of consciousness. There is no end of ignorance, there is no age and death, there is no end of age and death. When the nurse put her ear next to Chenhao's ear again, the weak sound waves poured into her mind again. She widened her eyes and couldn't close her cherry mouth. Her small hands pinched her waist hard. It was very painful. It was definitely not an illusion. Listening carefully, she felt like she was in a trance. The sound didn't seem to be real, but directly floated in her heart. Beep beep beep. At this moment, the sound of swiping the card to open the door suddenly came. Xiao Hui, what are you doing? Ah, you stupid girl. I knew you couldn't resist the temptation of handsome guys. You didn't even notice me coming. You're really intoxicated. A young female nurse who was slightly older than the young nurse, but was equally beautiful, had a graceful figure, and was dressed in a uniform that was quite tempting. When she entered the room and saw the young nurse with her back facing her, she immediately ridiculed the young nurse when she leaned over and pressed her face against the patient's face. Sister Qianqian, I'm not like you, falling in love with a comatose man. If it weren't for the fact that I want to see what you call the most handsome man in the Skyriver sector, I wouldn't compete for this position. Come and listen. Fine. What's so nice about it? There's no sound at all. You'll get used to it. 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, he's always like this. Even when I feed him, his lips seem to be saying something. Such a handsome, manly man. Now, do you know that I didn't lie to you? I'm serious, Sister Qianqian, I really can hear it. Come, I'm still talking. How is that possible? The beautiful nurse called Sister Qianqian frowned. Although she didn't believe it at all, she still leaned over and put her ear next to the patient's mouth when she saw the serious look on the nurse's face. The girl called Qianqian smelled the familiar scent of the man she had taken care of for a year. Her heart raced again, and her ears turned red when she thought of a certain scene. However, this was her secret. Even if the nurse was her best cousin and best friend, she couldn't tell her. No, there is no sound. Don't be suspicious. A year ago, when I first came here, I also heard it countless times. There is no sound at all. Sister Qianqian, why is your face so red? But I really can hear it. He is talking about Buddhist scriptures and Taoist scriptures. Just now he was talking about Taoist scriptures. Now he seems to be talking about Taoist scriptures. Can't you hear it? Can you really hear it? Yes. Then it seems that you are really fated with him. Take good care of him so that I won't have to worry about him in the future. Sister Qianqian, don't you believe me? Chapter 9:11. As if I'd believe you. You little brat, you've been trying to scare people since you were young. Seeing a ghost, hearing a woman cry, seeing an old grandpa next door who just passed away. Now, I'm warning you, you must keep everything about him a secret. This is our duty. If you weren't my best friend, I wouldn't tell you about his existence. You can't talk nonsense here, or else, if he's taken away, I'll never let you off. Big sister Qianqian. All right. Maybe my old illness is acting up. But the information says that he has always been in a comatose state since he was born, and has never woken up. How could he possibly know about Taoist scriptures and Buddhist scriptures from the outer realms? Could it be? Forget it, I won't scare you anymore. Xiao Hui quickly compromised when she saw her cousin's expression. Qian, whose full name was Lu Qian, was the cousin of the nurse Lu Hui. They were only 1 year apart in age and had been best friends since they were young. They talked about everything and had the same interests and hobbies. One after the other, they were admitted to the special nursing school for special personnel in China, and graduated with excellent results. Because of the marriage of another special nursing nurse who took care of Chun Hao, Lu Qian persuaded her cousin, Lu Hui, to get the job as a special nursing nurse with an extremely high salary and an extremely easy job. This kind of patient was much better than the average old man or big shot. Moreover, it was comfortable to look at and happy to do. Lu Qian's words reminded Lu Hui of her strange illness when she was young. If it weren't for her natural boldness, she would have been sent to a mental hospital long ago. Later, as she grew older, she learned to turn a blind eye and turn a deaf ear to avoid being forced to take medicine and injections. It wasn't until junior high school that she finally returned to normal and no longer saw things that she shouldn't see. At this moment, Lu Hui was sure that her ability, that disappeared, seemed to have reappeared in this handsome patient. Although she didn't say anything else in case her cousin got mad, she was sure that she wasn't hallucinating. Just like the things that she saw when she was young, she was sure that they were real from the beginning, because many things had been verified. The 12th one, another little beauty. It's been 10 years. She can actually hear my voice. The Taoist and Buddhist scriptures that I'm chanting are from another world. What is it? Why is it that most of my mind is focused on chanting, unable to truly wake up? Furthermore, Taoist scriptures, Buddhist scriptures, they feel so familiar, as if they belong to me. They are so different from what I have heard. Who am I? I am Chun Hao, the son of the chief scientist of Longhua Planet's Academy of Sciences, Chenhua. My mother is Fanjun. My name was obtained in my mother's dream before she was pregnant with me. I'm a strange existence. I've been pregnant for 3 years, and I haven't truly woken up for 18 years. However, I can clearly see and hear everything. I really want to wake up. I'm awake more and more often. I should wake up soon, right? Lu Qian and Lu Hui had no idea that their every move was under Chen Hao's perception. In the same way, no one knew that when Chen Hao was still in his mother's womb, he would occasionally be awake. His consciousness could cover a radius of 1,000 miles. Even the rustling of grass and the crawling of ants would appear clearly in his mind. Today, 18 years later, even though he had never opened his eyes, the occasional sober consciousness allowed him to have a much better understanding of the world than ordinary people. Moreover, everything he heard and saw would be engraved in his mind and would never be forgotten. Now he was awake more and more often, and the distance his mind could sense was also increasing. He could easily sense things within a radius of 1,000,000 miles. The Skyriver sector was a huge sector with many life-bearing planets. Longhua Planet was one of the most powerful planets among the many life-bearing planets, with a diameter of 840 million kilometers. It had a human civilization of hundreds of millions of years. A long, long time ago, it had the ability to explore the starry sky. The lifeless planets in the entire Skyriver sector had long become industrial bases for the development of resources for many life-bearing planets. Hundreds of millions of years ago, they had already begun to explore the vast galaxy and extraterrestrial civilizations outside the Skyriver sector. This world had super-powerful space travel technology, but humans themselves were very weak. In the war 10 years ago, although all news was blocked, Chen Hao, who was in a coma, learned from his parents, who had a special identity, that there was an attack by extraterrestrial life forms. It was also at that time that his parents sent him to the most advanced battleship for his safety. In the past 10 years, His parents had devoted themselves to the research of extraterrestrial life forms. The extraterrestrial beings were also human beings. Although there were only a few dozen of them at that time, they had destroyed dozens of vital planets in the Skyriver sector. For some unknown reason, these extraterrestrial beings, who had been as powerful as superhumans, had eventually become just a little stronger than ordinary humans. They had either been killed or captured alive, resolving the crisis of the Skyriver sector. In the past year, when Chun Hao was awake, his extremely powerful senses allowed him to discover some outsiders, or rather, extraterrestrial invaders that his parents had mentioned. Occasionally, he sensed that the invaders had displayed divine abilities that did not belong to this world. Chun Hao had a very familiar feeling, as if he could do most of those divine abilities. Of course, the premise was that he had to wake up first. In the past year, even his mother had not come to visit him once. Presumably, it had something to do with the arrival of the extraterrestrial invaders. That's more like it. Well, it's time to take a bath with him today. It's your first day here, so I'll guide you. Later, I'll show you something interesting. Something interesting? Isn't it just taking a bath with a handsome zombie? What's so interesting about that? Sister, don't tell me you're going to take advantage of him? Bah, you damn girl. What nonsense are you talking about? You'll know when the time comes. Look at how red your face is. Big sister, you said that after seeing him, you won't like anyone else. Whatever you've done, just be honest with your little sister. I can completely understand. You can understand? Do you want to? Of course not. I just think that you're right. He's indeed the most handsome person in the world. Although he's a zombie, he's so attractive. Sister, don't be rash. The previous ones who left, including the one you replaced this time, I'm sure that they left because they secretly did that. That can't be right. That must be it. They're all semi-naturals. I've secretly investigated them and found out that they all got pregnant a few months after they got married. Naturals. Their status rose a lot. Are you sure? It's true. We're naturals, so we can't mess around. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.